other people are not that worried about. And that he is a stickler for accuracy. When you are a stickler for something, you expect or demand a certain level of behavior. If you see this phrase, you will see it mostly with the noun accuracy or rules. Two words which mean nearly the same thing are con and scam. These are dishonest schemes designed to trick people and take their money. The people who carry out these schemes are con artists and scammers. Phishing is a type of scam. It's a trick designed to steal your banking information by getting you to log on to a fake website with your real details. And a hoax is a kind of deception, something designed to make you believe something that isn't true.
Thank you, Sam. It's very easy to manipulate images today, and images can be used to manipulate our emotions. So be skeptical, be vigilant, and share safely.
And remember that just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. And if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Could a short sleep during the day protect your brain? This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Beth.
And I'm Phil. Make sure you watch to the end to learn all the vocabulary that you need to talk about this story.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and try the quiz on our website. Now, today's story.
Our brains get smaller as we get older. But this doesn't happen as fast in people who take regular short sleeps during the day. That's according to a new study. Researchers suggest that these naps might reduce the risk of developing conditions like Alzheimer's in later life.
You've been looking at the headlines. What's the vocabulary?
We have power nap, sharp, and hinder.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's have a look at our first headline.
This is from iNews. Power naps linked to greater brain capacity, scientists say.
So brain capacity is about brain size, and this headline says that it's linked to something called power naps. Now we're going to look at this phrase, power naps. But Phil, the word nap, isn't that a short sleep that babies have?
Well, anyone can have a nap, but we're looking at power naps. Now, these are short sleeps, usually during the working day, in order to be able to do your job better. And in fact, maybe I should have a power nap after recording this.
Well, that might be good for your brain. That's what this headline is saying. But there are other types of nap, aren't there?
Yes, you might have heard of a cat nap, which is kind of similar, but it's not associated with work. And we have other words to talk about sleep, like snooze or to nod off, and many others.
Okay, well, before our audience nods off, let's look at that again. Let's have our next headline.
Yeah, this one is from The Times. Taking more naps could help you to stay sharp in later life.
Now again, we're talking about naps, and this article refers to another study which suggested that having naps can help our brains perform better. The word we're looking at is sharp. Now Phil, I know a sharp knife, but what is a sharp brain?
Well, you've probably guessed that it's a metaphor. If you describe someone as sharp, it means that they're alert and they can think quickly. Think about when you've had a good rest and you're feeling good, everything just seems to be a bit easier.
Yeah, and we use it to talk about people that always have a quick answer for something. We can say that they are sharp or that they have a sharp mind.
Yes, and it's being used here to say that regular naps will keep your brain performing well.
Yes, just like how practicing your English every day will keep your language skills sharp. Okay, let's look at that again. Okay, next headline, please.
This one is from the Daily Express. Naps could help or hinder your health depending on their length, study suggests.
Now, this is actually referring to a different study, and it says that long naps can be associated with obesity, while shorter naps can reduce the risk of high blood pressure. We are looking at the word hinder, and this is often used with the word help, isn't it?
It is, but it means the opposite. To hinder means to make things harder or worse. Now, here we're looking at health. So the headline is saying that some naps, shorter ones, are helpful, while others, longer ones, are unhelpful.
That's right. And hinder is not that common in spoken English, but it is often used with the word help. And that's because of those two H's, hinder and help. So, for example, if something turns out to be less useful than you expected it to be, it might actually hinder rather than help you.
I could also say that having to work hinders me being able to take naps regularly.
That's right. Okay, let's look at that again. We've had power nap, a short sleep during the day.
Sharp, alert and quick thinking.
Hinder, to make something difficult or worse.
Now, there's more about sleep in this video where we asked, are late nights bad for your health?
And don't forget to subscribe here so you never miss a chance to learn more English.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
In Beijing, EU President Ursula von der Leyen says the EU and China have agreed to establish balanced trade relations. She spoke after talks with President Xi Jinping. The American military grounds all Osprey V-22 helicopters 1 week after 8 soldiers died in an Osprey crash into the ocean near Japan. Guyana says a military helicopter carrying 7 people disappeared in bad weather near the country's border with Venezuela. And the U.S. Senate blocks an emergency bill that called for billions of dollars in new assistance to Ukraine and Israel.
Як називати англійською основні особливості винищувача F-16? Яка лексика потрібна для опису технічних характеристик цього літака? Що таке Overhaul Works та як воно впливає на швидкість отримання Україною бойових соколів? Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це армійська англійська, перший в Україні ютуб-канал із мовної підготовки для українського війська. І сьогодні я хочу поговорити з вами про F-16 – довгоочікуваний винищувач, який підсилить наші оборонні та контрнаступальні здатності та допоможе нам знищувати окупантів у більшій кількості. Україна неодноразово закликала своїх західних партнерів надати їй винищувачі F-16, бо вони допоможуть зміцнити протиповітряну оборону, сприятимуть контрнаступу та дадуть можливість проводити далекобійні атаки – Long Range Strikes. Нідерланди та Данія вже оголосили, що передадуть Україні винищувачі після успішного завершення підготовки українських пілотів. І я підозрюю, що для цієї підготовки їм неодмінно знадобляться знання англійської. Прем'єр-міністр Норвегії також заявив, що його країна надасть Україні F-16. Розберімося, що ж особливого в цьому літаку і як говорити про ці особливості in English. The General Dynamics F-16 Fighting Falcon is an American single-engine з одним двигуном, multi-role – багатофункціональний, fighter aircraft – винищувач, originally developed by – розроблений компанією General Dynamics for the United States Air Force. Він є highly maneuverable та з 1979 року, коли він entered service, був прийнятий на озброєння, підтвердив свою ефективність in air-to-air combat and air-to-surface attacks. До речі, у нас є урок, присвячений типам військової авіації. Там багато корисної лексики, рекомендую вам його передивитися. А ще ми з командою готуємо відео з теми Aircraft Recognition – розпізнавання авіаційної техніки. Перевірте, чи ви підписані на наш канал, поставте дзвіночок і не пропускайте майбутні уроки. Офіційна назва F-16 – це Fighting Falcon – бойовий сокіл. Але він отримав неофіційне прізвисько Viper – гадюка через уявну схожість зі змією-гадюкою, а також із вигаданим винищувачем Colonial Viper із фантастичного телесеріалу Battlestar Galactica, який транслювався під час прийняття F-16 на озброєння. The F-16 was assembled – було зібрано in an unusual agreement – у рамках виняткової угоди між the United States and four NATO nations – Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands and Norway. Запчастини до літака постачаються з усіх 5 країн, а от maintenance – технічне обслуговування, repair – ремонтування and overhaul work – капітальний ремонт розподілені між ними. Key features – ключові особливості of F-16 include a frameless bubble canopy – безкаркасний краплеподібний ліхтар, що розташований over the cockpit – над кабіною пілота for good visibility – для гарної видимості. Side-mounted control stick – бічний джойстик to ease control while maneuvering – для полегшення керування під час маневрування. An ejection seat – катапультне крісло. It can recline – воно може відхилятися на 30 degrees from vertical, щоб зменшити вплив перевантажень на пілота. Система керування fly-by-wire, яка допомагає стабілізувати керування польотом. F-16 має внутрішню гармату M61 Vulcan Cannon and 11 hard points – 11 вузлів підвіски озброєння. F-16 були у віш-ліст України протягом тривалого часу, бо через свою destructive power цей літак здатний to carry bombs, rockets and missiles – транспортувати бомби, ракети та реактивні снаряди. Він є fully compatible, повністю сумісний, із широким спектром сучасних західних боєприпасів. Ви можете подивитися на характеристики новітнього F-16 Block 7072. Та ми не будемо мати справу із цифрами, бо я на них мало розуміюся і боюсь заплутатись. Натомість розберемо ключові слова для опису характеристик літака. Length – довжина, споріднений прикметник – long. Height – висота, прикметник – high. Speed – це швидкість. Wingspan – розмах крил. Empty weight – маса пустого повітряного судна. Load factor – коефіцієнт навантаження. Engine thrust – тяга двигуна. Service life – технічний ресурс, термін служби, тривалість експлуатації. Але Україні передадуть не Block 7072, Чому? Справа в тому, що перш ніж передати Україні літаки F-16, наші international partners повинні будуть провести їх капітальний ремонт – overhaul works. Тому що ці літаки є stored, знаходяться на зберіганні. Не всі з них перебувають у льотному стані і не всі в боєздатному. Капітальний ремонт може зайняти місяці, і є декілька варіантів, які саме aircraft зможуть стати the best short-term solution, а які a longer-term solution. Про це ви можете дізнатися у відповідних експертних джерелах. А у нас тут курс англійської, тому перевіримо знання деякої ключової лексики, яку я дала вам в цьому уроці. Кабіна пілота – це an aircraft cockpit. Безкаркасний краплеподібний ліхтар – це a frameless bubble canopy. Повітряний бій – air-to-air combat. Розмах крила – wingspan. Катапультне крісло – an ejection seat. Капітальний ремонт, перебирання механізму – це overhaul works. А робити капітальний ремонт – це to overhaul. Технічне обслуговування – maintenance. А обслуговувати – to maintain. Бічний джойстик – side-mounted control stick. Довжина – length. Висота – height. Вузол підвіски озброєння – це a hard point. Маю надію, що ці знання знадобляться майбутнім пілотам F-16. І не тільки їм, а всім, хто вивчає військову англійську. Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька на каналі Армійська англійська. Чекаю на F-16, які значно підсилять наші Збройні сили. А також чекаю на ваші підписки, коментарі, вподобайки та поширення. Вони значно підсилять наш проєкт із мовної підготовки для українських Збройних сил. Бо, щоб оперувати зброєю та технікою західного зразка і співпрацювати із силами НАТО, силам оборони України необхідно опанувати мову західного зразка і відповідати мовному стандарту НАТО. На це ми і націлюємось. Як in English буде тротуар, перехрестя, затор, пішохідний перехід? Як називати англійською різні типи дорожніх знаків? Що таке chevron в дорожній розмітці? Та що ще, окрім здатися та капітулювати, означає дієслово to surrender? Як описати маршрут англійською та дати вказівки, куди їхати? І як дістатися пункту призначення? Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це канал Армійська англійська. І сьогодні ми говоримо про driving – керування автівкою, а зокрема про traffic, road signs та routes – дорожній рух, знаки та маршрути. Транспорт рухається автомобільною дорогою – a motorway або a road, або ж швидкісною трасою – a highway, що має смуги, які в англійській мові називаються lanes. Відповідно, автівки рухаються по car lane, автобуси мають свою bus lane, а велосипедисти – bicycle or bike lane. Пішоходи – pedestrians ходять по pedestrian lane або ж a sidewalk. І перш ніж ми почнемо говорити про дорожні знаки та розмітку англійською, перевірте, чи ви підписані на наш канал, а також залиште під цим відео коментар зі зворотнім зв'язком. Це допомагає нашому освітньому контенту поширюватися, і більше українських військових зможуть побачити це відео і покращити свою англійську. Дорожня розмітка pavement markers. Вона надає інформацію about the direction of traffic щодо напрямку руху and where you may and may not travel, куди вам можна та не можна їхати. Pavement markings виконують наступні функції. Divide traffic lanes – розділяють дорожні смуги. Show turning lanes – вказують на смуги для повороту. Mark pedestrian crossings – позначають пішохідні переходи. Indicate obstacles – помічають перешкоди. And inform you when it is not safe to pass – і інформують, де проїжджати небезпечно. Залежно від країни вони можуть розрізнятися, але зазвичай це white lines, yellow lines, edge lines – лінії краю дороги, arrows – вказівні стрілки, reversible lanes – реверсивні смуги. Роздільна смуга – це center line or separation line. Суцільна – пряма – solid line. Переривчаста пряма – broken line. Raised pavement markers – це попереджувальні елементи, що виступають над поверхнею дороги. Rumble strips – це смужки, які видають своєрідний гуркіт – rumble, та відчуваються водіями, якщо на них наїхати. Дорожня розмітка, яку називають chevron, скеровує рух транспорту в необхідну смугу або використовується для розділення транспортних потоків у протилежних напрямках. Тож шеврони є не лише у військових, а й на дорозі. Дорожні знаки – road signs. Залежно від країни, де ви керуєте транспортним засобом, поділ знаків на категорії різниця. Проте основними все ж залишаються попереджувальні warning signs, регулювальні regulatory signs та інформаційно-вказівні guide signs або information signs. Серед попереджувальних знаків warning signs, що зустрічаються дорогою, найчастіше є попереду світлофор traffic light, traffic lights, traffic signals або stop lights, перехрестя crossroads або junction, затори traffic queues, тоді як в розмовній мові ви частіше всього почуєте фразу traffic jams. Інші назви затору – це blockage, bottleneck, congestion, gridlock, logjam або roadblock. Пішохідний перехід – це pedestrian crossing, zebra crossing або zebra crossing. Залізничний переїзд зі шлагбаумом – це level crossing with a barrier. Вам також можуть трапитися назви railway level crossing, railway crossing, grade crossing або railroad crossing. Це здебільшого американський варіант. Road through railroad, crisscross, train crossing. Круговий рух – це roundabout або a rotary or traffic circle. Якщо ваш навігатор налаштовано на англійську, то ви почуєте at the roundabout, take the first, the second, the third exit. На кільці поверніть на першому, другому, третьому з'їзді. Двосторонній рух – це two-way traffic. Відповідно, односторонній рух – це one-way traffic. Відповідно, вулиця або дорога з двостороннім рухом – це two-way street або road, а з одностороннім – one-way street або road. До регулюючих знаків – regulatory signs, які дозволяють allow чи забороняють prohibit певні дії на дорозі, залежно від країни, де ви керуєте авто, можуть належати. В'їзд заборонено – no entry. Рух транспорту заборонено – no vehicles. Рух пішоходів заборонено – no pedestrians. Обгін заборонено – no overtaking. Поступись дорогою – yield or give way. Дієслово to yield має декілька значень. І тут воно вживається в значенні to surrender, що може перекладатися не тільки здаватися та капітулювати, а й поступатися. У цьому випадку – дорогою. Знак stop – це stop sign. Поступись дорогою зустрічному транспорту – give way to oncoming vehicles. Попереду поворот, праворуч, ліворуч. Знак, який каже нам turn right, turn left. Поворот ліворуч, праворуч заборонений. No turn left sign або no turn right sign. Straight ahead sign – рух прямо. Цей знак каже нам «go straight ahead» або «go straight on». Пригальмуйте – знак, який закликає скинути швидкість – це «slow down». Інформаційно-вказівні знаки guide signs або інколи їх називають information signs. Вони вказують на destination – пункт призначення, distance – відстань, direction – напрямок руху, а також дають інформацію щодо дорожніх умов та сервісів на дорозі. Наприклад, автозаправна станція – gas station в американській англійській. Там ви можете придбати gasoline або petrol for your vehicle. А в британській англійській заправку називають petrol station. Також можна зустріти назву filling station. Існує безліч інших знаків, які просто неможливо згадати всі в одному уроці. Але ви можете самостійно знайти їх у мережі та подивитися, як вони називаються. Якщо вам раптом доведеться давати інструкції з пересування іноземцю, або їхати за інструкціями іноземця, або ж кермувати автівкою за кордоном. Перейдімо до наступного пункту – прокладання маршруту, бо одна з вимог стандарту з військової англійської – вміння описувати in English маршрут руху, давати вказівки щодо пересування автівкою. Ви маєте вміти давати бодай прості інструкції та вміти розповісти, як дістатися певного місця, а також зрозуміти інструкції, які вам можуть дати іноземці. У граматичному плані нам в цьому допоможе imperative mood – наказовий спосіб, про який ми говорили в одному з попередніх відео, а також prepositions of movement та prepositions of place – прийменники руху та прийменники місця, які ми розбирали в попередніх уроках. А от на лексику, на слова та фрази, з якими ці прийменники узгоджуються, прошу вас звернути увагу.
Go straight on.
Рухайтесь прямо.
Go straight ahead.
Рухайтесь прямо.
Continue driving.
Продовжуйте рух.
Turn right at the crossroads.
Поверніть праворуч на перехресті.
Turn left at the crossroads.
Поверніть ліворуч на перехресті.
At the roundabout, take the second exit.
На кільці поверніть на другий з'їзд.
Go along the street past the bank.
Їдьте вздовж вулиці повз банк.
Go until you reach the train station.
Їдьте, доки не дістанетесь з залізничного вокзалу.
Drive through the square.
Проїдьте через площу.
Go over the bridge.
Переїдьте міст.
The post office is at the corner of the street.
Пошта знаходиться на розі вулиці.
The city council will be on your left.
Міська рада буде ліворуч від вас.
The drugstore will be on your right.
Аптека буде справа від вас.
The hospital is just across the street.
Госпіталь на іншому боці вулиці.
The police department is just over there.
Поліцейська дільниця он там неподалік.
The warehouse is located next to the hangars.
Склад знаходиться біля ангарів.
The observation post is opposite the old building.
Пункт спостереження знаходиться напроти старої будівлі.
The headquarters is located between the two barracks.
Штаб знаходиться між двома казармами.
Stop at the gas station.
Зупинись на заправці.
Отже, друзі, ви отримали порцію лексики для опису дорожніх знаків, розмітки, основних вказівників на дорозі. А також, слідуючи нашим моделям, можете прокласти маршрут, описати дорогу, дати прості вказівки англійською мовою щодо того, як дістатись певного місця, в якому напрямку їхати, де куди звертати та де зупинятися. Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це канал Армійська англійська, на якому ми з командою волонтерів не зупиняємося та продовжуємо, не збавляючи швидкості, рухатися в напрямку підвищення рівня володіння англійською мовою серед українських військовослужбовців. Зустрінемось у наступному відеоуроці.
am in my new apartment. Great! I live with Marcia. We're roommates. I want to cook dinner. Oh! Is there a supermarket near here? Marcia knows. Marcia's work number is 555-8986. Hello, is this Marcia? It is Anna.
I'm sorry, you have the wrong number.
Is this 555-8986?
No, this is 555-8689.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay, bye.
I am sorry.
Excuse me.
Now you try it.
One more time. 555-8986. Please be Marcia.
Hello, this is Marcia.
Yes, Marcia? I want to cook dinner.
Excuse me? Anna, is that you?
Oh yes, I am here.
Good, you are there.
I want to find a supermarket.
Oh, okay. The supermarket is at 1500 Irving Street. It is near the apartment.
Great. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Anna.
Are you there?
I am here.
Now you try it.
There is a big supermarket on our street, and Marcia says I am a good cook. Until next time, bye. I am in my new apartment. Great! I live with Marcia. We're roommates. I want to cook dinner. Oh! Is there a supermarket near here? Marcia knows. Marcia's work number is 555-8986. Hello, is this Marcia? It is Anna.
I'm sorry, you have the wrong number.
Is this 555-8986?
No, this is 555-8689.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay, bye.
One more time. 555-8986. Please be Marcia.
Hello, this is Marcia.
Yes, Marcia? I want to cook dinner.
Excuse me? Anna, is that you?
Oh yes, I am here.
Good, you are there.
I want to find a supermarket.
Oh, okay. The supermarket is at 1500 Irving Street. It is near the apartment.
Great. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Anna.
There is a big supermarket on our street, and Marcia says I am a good cook. Until next time, bye.
Could plastic-eating worms help the world's pollution crisis? This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Beth. Make sure you watch to the end to learn vocabulary to talk about this story.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and try the quiz on our website. Now it's time for the story.
getting rid of plastic with worm spit. Spanish scientists have discovered something in waxworm saliva which helps them eat plastic. It's hoped the breakthrough will be an effective and natural way of reducing plastic pollution. One researcher suggests in the future, plastic-eating worm kits could be used in the home.
You've been looking at the headlines, Beth. What's the vocabulary?
We have gobbling, lowly, and humble.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's have a look at our first headline.
This one is from France 24. Plastic gobbling enzymes in worm spit may help ease pollution.
And so the headline is saying something useful has been found in the spit of a certain kind of worm, and it's the enzyme in the spit. Enzymes are things that help chemical processes happen more quickly. In this case, destroying plastic. But the word that we're interested in is gobbling, and gobbling is a word connected to the noise a turkey makes.
Yes, you're right. So when a turkey gets its food, it eats very quickly and loudly, and we say this is gobble. So the headline writer has turned this into an adjective, just like the noise gobble gobble, and then we've got a new word, plastic gobbling.
Gobble is a funny word in English because it sounds like the thing it is describing, and we have a lot of words like that. For example, what noise does a cat make?
Meow.
Okay, so the noise is like that, and the word to describe that is meow. What about chickens?
Cluck cluck.
Okay, chickens make a cluck cluck noise, and the word we write down and say is cluck.
Yeah, so the headline makes you imagine a worm noisily eating plastic, just like a turkey gobbling it. Now, of course, this is an exaggeration, but it's quite entertaining and it gives you a strong mental image.
Yeah. Can you give us some examples of other words connected to eating and the noise involved?
Yes, so we have gulp.
Okay, so that is gulp.
And that is about eating food and drinking quickly and loudly. And then we also have guzzle, but that's only really used for drink.
Yeah, and we have a word not connected to sound, but it's got an animal in it. To wolf something down means to eat it really quickly. Let's take a look at that one more time. Let's take a look at our next headline.
This one is from Reuters. Lowly waxworm saliva may boost fight against plastic pollution.
The headline is saying that the saliva, that's the spit, another word for spit, of this certain kind of worm might boost, that means help, the attempt to reduce plastic. But the word we're looking at is lowly. What can you tell us about lowly?
Well, there's a clue in this word lowly, low, and it means low in position or importance. So, for example, Neil, when I started in my career, I wasn't presenting news review for the BBC. I was in a lowly position.
Okay, so you mean that you feel that the job you were doing wasn't as important as the one you're doing now. It was lower.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Now, we have heard that this worm is actually really important. It's eating plastic. So why are we calling it lowly?
Well, waxworms aren't really high up in the animal kingdom. They're a little bit dirty. Most people think of them as pests and they don't really like them.
And so the headline writer uses the word lowly because even though this worm doesn't seem that important, it's actually doing a really important job. Now, do we use this word much in our everyday English?
Well, yeah, when we use it, it's always in a humorous way. We're kind of saying the thing we're doing isn't very important. Like I used to just be a lowly tea maker in the office.
Ah, well, you call yourself lowly, but just like the worm, you're performing a really important task. Everybody loves tea. It may not be the most glamorous job in the world, but it is very important. Okay, let's look at that again. Let's take a look at our next headline.
This one is from the BBC. Humble worm saliva can break down tough plastic.
And so the headline is saying the saliva of this type of worm, this wax worm, can break down, which means destroy, certain types of plastic, tough plastics, ones that are difficult to break down, difficult to destroy. We have another adjective that we're looking at, which is humble. What can you tell us about humble?
So humble can have the same meaning as lowly, meaning ordinary or not important, but it has another meaning too. So it can describe a person who isn't proud or doesn't believe that they're important, even if they are. So imagine someone wins an award, they get on stage to give their speech and they say, "This isn't for me, it's for everyone else. Thank you, everyone who helped me." They are humble.
Ah, what a humble person. And it's a positive thing to say about someone, isn't it? So in this headline, using humble about this worm is a positive thing.
Exactly, because even though this worm maybe looks just like a worm, it's really special and important. It has plastic eating abilities.
Okay, let's look at that again. We've had gobbling, eating quickly and loudly, like a turkey.
Lowly, low in position and importance.
And humble, not proud, but often important.
Don't forget, there's a quiz on our website at bbclearningenglish.com.
Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye.
Чим Military Pack відрізняється від Assault Pack? І які ще типи рюкзаків бувають? Як називаються предмети в наплічнику солдата, які забезпечують йому shelter та camouflage? Яке оснащення можна віднести до Survival Essentials? Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це канал Армійська англійська, на якому сьогодні ми проводимо лексичну розпаковку військового рюкзака і вчимося розповідати про його вміст і називати предмети англійською. У попередніх відео ми з вами вже говорили про форму та одяг військового, а також детально розбирали назви та функції захисного спорядження. А сьогодні наша тема – військовий рюкзак та його вміст. Будемо вивчати, як описати англійською ті речі, які ви з собою носите. Під час підготовки до цього уроку я провела невелике опитування серед військових моїх студентів та друзів і зробила висновок, що окрім загального традиційного переліку необхідних речей, вони мають в своїх рюкзаках різне. А вже ж, наповнення залежить від роду військ, типу підрозділу, посади, характеру завдання, ситуації та обставин, сезону, персональних вподобань і потреб та багатьох інших чинників. Але є базовий набір, що міститься в наплічнику військового найчастіше. Саме про нього і поговоримо. Кажуть, що ще за часів давнього Риму солдати носили з собою сумки, зроблені зі шкіри, у яких переносили їжу, зброю та інші предмети. Довгий час солдати не мали рюкзаків у тому вигляді, як зараз, а носили невеликі сумки або ранці, бо більшість essential items, необхідних речей, які були їм потрібні, переміщувались на повозках on a wagon, які слідували за військом. Коли було винайдено вогнепальну зброю, firearms, у солдатів з'явилася необхідність мати при собою не тільки rifles and muskets, а також ammunition and cleaning equipment. І, відповідно, необхідність носити більше оснащення самостійно. Перші військові рюкзаки, які з'явилися в Америці всередині 18 сторіччя, було виготовлено з листового металу – sheet metal, і вони мали wooden backing. Зрозуміло, що вони були не дуже зручні, тож солдати часто загортали свої речі в ковдру і носили на плечі. Тому the first military backpack і називався rucksack від німецького спина та слова sack – сумка, мішок. Наприкінці Другої світової війни з'явився так званий field pack, який мав два відділення – one to store rations or equipment and the other for weaponry. З того часу моделі та матеріали для військових рюкзаків невпинно покращувались та удосконалювались. Було створено сотні різних модифікацій, і в сучасних арміях є вимоги до рюкзаків, які можуть носити військовослужбовці in terms of size – розміру, shape – форми, durability – міцності and color – кольору. Розгляньмо, які варіанти військових сумок та рюкзаків є зараз. A duffel bag – речовий мішок, a tube-shaped cloth bag. A bum bag або a butt bag – сумка на пояс. Molly rucksack – рюкзак з системою Моллі. A combat sustainment pack – додатковий тактичний рюкзак. Невеликий рюкзак, що підходить для різних завдань. An assault pack – штурмовий рюкзак. A mission pack – рюкзак на одне завдання, на 2-3 дні. An Alice pack – all-purpose lightweight individual carrying equipment – рюкзак за типом універсального, полегшеного, індивідуального, розвантажувального обладнання. A Bergen – великий військовий рюкзак, понад 50 літрів, що використовують військові Британії. An attachable pouch – підсумок. A survival kit – набір для виживання. Увага! Різниця між military backpacks та assault packs в тому, що military backpacks – рюкзаки для перенесення всіх речей для довгого періоду часу, а assault packs – призначені для коротших періодів або навіть завдань на один день. Тоді як military pack може вміщувати до 96 літрів, assault packs містять лише around 20 liters. І перш ніж ми перейдемо до розбору вмісту, ви маєте підписатися на цей канал, якщо дивитесь наше відео, а також перевірити, чи поставили ви лайк та дзвіночок, щоб отримувати всі сповіщення про оновлення на каналі. Необхідна в рюкзаку їжа – food – це a field ration – сухпайок. Можна зустріти також назви combat ration, food packet, ration pack, battle ration, meal ready to eat – MRE або IMP – individual meal pack. Також це усілякі protein bars та energy drinks, які ви так любите. Щоб нагрівати їжу, в рюкзаку є a flameless ration heater – безполуменевий нагрівач. У наплічнику військового неодмінно містяться речі, що забезпечують роботу зброї та зв'язок – weapons and communication. GPS unit, satellite phone, a compass, a map, binoculars, an extra battery – додаткова батарея або powerbank, a radio або a walkie-talkie – радіостанція або рація, a gun cleaning kit – набір для чищення зброї, magazine pouches – підсумки для магазинів, ammo pouches, a signal mirror – сигнальне дзеркало, night vision gear, NVGs – night vision goggles, а також усілякі інші речі, необхідні для зв'язку, знаходження, знешкодження та знищення ворога. Survival essentials – це, по-перше, a first aid kit – аптечка, a tourniquet – турнікет, а також оснащення, що забезпечує гідрацію – hydration packs – гідраційні пакети, a hydration bladder – питна система для рюкзака, a flask – фляга, також її називають a canteen, a sleeping bag – спальний мішок, an emergency blanket – термоковдра, matches – сірники, A hand or foot heating pad – зігрівальні елементи для рук чи ніг. A headlamp або a head torch – налобний ліхтарик. A tactical flashlight – тактичний ліхтарик. У рюкзаку можуть бути різні матеріали для спорудження shelter – укриття та camouflaging – маскування. A tarp – брезентовий тент. A tent – намет. Duct tape – скотч і зустрічка. A rope – мотузка. A bungee cord – еластичний шнур з гачками. A rain jacket – дощовик. Маскувальна фарба для обличчя – це Camouflage Face Paint – CFP. Extra clothing – додатковий набір одягу. Sunscreen – крем для засмаги. Лопатка – це an entrenching tool або e-tool. Personal items – a knife. A multi-tool – є два варіанти написання цього слова. A mug – кружка. A ziploc bag – зіплок-пакет, поліетиленовий пакет на застібці, або a waterproof bag для мап та предметів, які не можна мочити. Що я пропустила? Напишіть мені в коментарях. Кожен ваш коментар служить для підтримки та просування нашого освітнього контенту. Ну і мені приємно. А ще обов'язково порекомендуйте армійську англійську вашим знайомим, які вивчають або планують вивчати англійську. Вони будуть вдячні вам за це. Може, не просто зараз, але будуть. Бо дуже скоро English стане обов'язковою вимогою для військовослужбовців України. І щоб ми могли робити більше корисних уроків і матеріалів з військової англійської, ви можете підтримати наш проєкт не тільки вподобайкою та коментарем, але й фінансово. Усі посилання в описі. Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька, яка мріє, щоб українське військо опанувало англійську мову і змогло напряму комунікувати з партнерами та колегами з-за кордону, вести перемовини, залучати більше підтримки, навчатися та ділитися досвідом знищення ворога. І в наступному відео я буду озброювати вас граматикою. Скоро побачимось!
Pete, hi. Hi, we're here.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Marcia.
Hi.
How are you two?
I am great.
You know, Pete, I am new to DC. The city is big.
Yeah, but you learn a little more every day. How's the new apartment?
The new apartment is great. Let's get coffee.
Anna, do you have a pen?
Yes, I have a pen in my bag. I have a...
It is not a pen. It is a book. It is a big book.
Yes, it is, Pete. I know I have a pen, though. I have a...
It is not a pen, Anna. A toy?
I have a...
And it is a pillow.
Do you have a pen?
Yes, I have a pen.
Now you try it.
Pete, Marcia, I know I have a pen.
Anna, it is a map.
Why do you have a map of the world?
Pete, Marcia, now I know I have a pen.
And now you have a lamp.
It is not a pen.
It is a map.
Now you try it.
Anna.
I have a pen. Let's get coffee. Pete, hi. Hi, we're here.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Marcia.
Hi.
How are you two?
I am great.
You know, Pete, I am new to DC. The city is big.
Yeah, but you learn a little more every day. How's the new apartment?
The new apartment is great. Let's get coffee.
Anna, do you have a pen?
Yes, I have a pen in my bag. I have a...
It is not a pen. It is a book. It is a big book.
Yes, it is, Pete. I know I have a pen, though. I have a...
It is not a pen, Anna. A toy?
I have a...
And it is a pillow.
Pete, Marcia, I know I have a pen.
Anna, it is a map.
Why do you have a map of the world?
Pete, Marcia, now I know I have a pen.
And now you have a lamp.
Anna.
I have a pen. Let's get coffee.
When Americans answer a yes or no question with yes, we sometimes say the words with no break. The sounds blend together. Here's an example. Listen.
Is it sunny today?
Yes, it is sunny.
We write it like this.
Yes, it is.
We say it like this.
Yes, it is.
Now you try it. Is it snowy today?
Yes, it is snowy.
When we answer a yes or no question politely, we use a short answer. A short answer is the adverb yes or no, followed by a pronoun and the be verb with not if the answer is no. Usually the word not is shortened. We do not always repeat the adjective or main verb of the question. We stress the be verb and not, or say them louder to make our answer clearer. Here are some examples. Listen.
Are they busy?
Yes, they are.
Listen.
Is she nervous?
No, she isn't.
Now, you try it. Is she nervous?
Listen.
Are you working?
No, I'm not.
Now, you try it. Ask a yes-no question.
The Israel-Gaza war, 1 month on. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Beth. Watch to the end to learn the vocabulary you need to talk about this news story.
And subscribe to our channel to help you understand English used in the news. Now the story.
It's now a month since the Israel-Gaza war broke out. Israel began bombing Gaza after Hamas killed 1,400 people and kidnapped more than 200 others on the 7th of October. More than 10,000 Palestinians in Gaza have been killed by air and artillery strikes carried out by the Israeli military in response.
You've been looking at the headlines, Beth. What's the vocabulary that can help people understand this story in English?
We're looking at ceasefire, humanitarian corridor, and escalate.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's look at our first headline.
This is from Sky News. Israel-Hamas war. Benjamin Netanyahu speaks about potential for ceasefire.
We're looking at the word ceasefire, which means a temporary stop or pause during fighting during a war. Now, we can understand this word better if we break it into two parts.
We can, yeah. So the first part is cease, which means stop. This is quite a formal word. We don't really use it in everyday English. The second part of ceasefire is fire.
Yeah, so fire here is a term connected to the military, and it means fight with weapons. So according to this headline, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken about stopping fighting, a potential ceasefire in the Israel-Gaza war.
Now, in the news, we often hear the word ceasefire with the verbs hold and fail. If a ceasefire is holding, it means that the agreement to stop fighting is successful.
But if a ceasefire is failing, it means the fighting is continuing despite this agreement to stop fighting, this ceasefire. Okay, let's look at that again. Let's have our next headline.
This is from the International Business Times. Israel-Hamas conflict. Israel shuts down reopened humanitarian corridor for evacuations amid Hamas shelling.
We are looking at this expression, humanitarian corridor. The first part, humanitarian, contains that word human, and so it is about humans and looking after humans. Corridor is a place, for example, in a building like an office or a school, where you can walk from one place to another.
That's right. So a humanitarian corridor is a safe area where people can move from a dangerous place to safety. And this headline is saying that Israel has closed a humanitarian corridor that was previously open.
Now, this idea, this concept of the humanitarian corridor is very common in conflict and war. And so you will read it and hear it and see it in news headlines.
And one more thing to note is that humanitarian corridors are not only used to allow people to move, but also to let aid and emergency services in and out of areas.
Let's look at that again. Let's have our next headline.
This is from BBC Newsnight. How could the conflict escalate?
We are looking at the verb escalate, which means to go up or increase. You might know that thing in a shopping centre. the moving stairs that take you from one level to another. That's an escalator. But this verb escalate here is used in the context of war.
It is, and escalate means to become more serious or more intense. So this headline is asking about how the conflict might change as more time passes.
Now there's a lot of war and conflict in the world, and so therefore you will see this word escalate used often in news reports, but you will also see the opposite word, which is de-escalate.
That's right. De-escalate means the size or level of violence becomes smaller rather than bigger. And you'll notice that it has this prefix de at the beginning. That prefix is often used to mean the negative or the opposite of something.
Let's look at that again. We've had ceasefire, a pause in fighting.
Humanitarian corridor, a safe space for movement of people and aid.
And escalate, become more intense and serious.
If you're interested in learning more language about conflict, we have other programs that might interest you.
Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye.
Fake news.
Hi, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Sam.
And this is Fake News, Fact and Fiction from BBC Learning English. In the program today, we'll look at the topic of critical thinking with the special guest, Dr. Stephen Novella.
Being able to evaluate the information that we have access to critically is now probably the most important skill any individual can have.
We'll hear more from Dr. Novella later. First, Sam, do you have some vocabulary for us?
Yes, I do. So today I'm going to be talking about spin, cherry picking, bias, and the phrase critical thinking itself. Let's have a look. See that? It's a ball. To turn it quickly is to spin it. Now, if we put the truth on this ball, then spin it, can you still see the truth? It's still there somewhere, but difficult to see clearly. Spin makes the truth difficult to see. And this is a bit like political spin, a term first used in the 1970s to talk about the way politicians and their spokespeople present information. They will present information in a way that makes things seem as positive as possible without always telling you the whole truth or the whole context. They might highlight the most positive details, but ignore the other details that don't make them look quite as good. Selecting which facts are chosen to publicize is known as cherry picking, and it often doesn't give a full or accurate picture of the whole story. And it's not just politicians of all sides who do this. It happens in the media too, mainstream and social media, and very often we do it ourselves. To explain why, I'm going to need another ball, like a bowling ball. Bowling balls don't roll straight. They curve to the left or right when they're rolled. One reason for this is that their weight is not centered. They have what is called a bias. Bias is the same word we use to describe an opinion that is not impartial, one that is not based fairly on facts, but which may turn one way or another because of personal feelings, political preferences, or ideology. So we might disagree with someone and think that they're wrong, not because of evidence or facts, but just because they have a different way of looking at the world than we do. And when it comes to the spread of fake news, something called confirmation bias is incredibly important. This is when we ignore or dismiss anything that doesn't support our own beliefs and only pay attention to information that confirms the views we already have. We like to read and see opinions that reflect our own beliefs. We might want to share something that we really agree with, something that makes us really angry or upset, and not stop to think whether it's actually true. The challenge is to be open to trying to understand opinions that are different from our own and not ignore any evidence that doesn't confirm our own view. This is where critical thinking becomes very important. The skill of looking at information objectively and impartially and trying not to be persuaded by our own biases. So that was my balanced spin on spin, and now back to the studio.
Thanks, Sam. I may be biased, but I thought it was really interesting. And it takes us nicely into our topic today, critical thinking. Why is this something that is important when it comes to fake news?
Yeah, well, one of the ways that news spreads is when it's shared. And if it's fake news, that can be a problem. Thinking critically is a bit like social distancing for fake news. If we know how to spot fake news, we are less likely to spread it.
And in order to spot fake news, you have to be a little bit of a skeptic and not believe everything you read on the internet. So what does it mean to be a skeptic? Let's turn to our guest today, Dr. Steven Novella. Dr. Novella is a clinical neurologist at Yale University. He's a science communicator who presents a weekly podcast called The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, and he's also written a book with the same name. We spoke to him earlier and first asked him about what being a skeptic means and why he believes it's important.
A skeptic is somebody that wants to believe only things that are actually true. We want to use facts, logic, and evidence to base our beliefs on. Now, the opposite of being a skeptic is being gullible. And I don't think anybody would self-identify as gullible or want to be gullible. But what we're advocating scientific skepticism is using a formal method, using a process to evaluate the information that we encounter. We're deluged with information. We have to filter it somehow. We have to have some way of figuring out what's likely to be true and what's not true. If someone's trying to deceive me, if someone's trying to sell me something, if someone else has been deceived and they're trying to pass that along to me, if the government is trying to maintain some fiction to maintain control. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why people would give me information that's not correct or that's biased or that's inaccurate. And sometimes people just make honest mistakes. We're flawed. Our brains are flawed. Our memories are terrible. We sort of construct an approximation of reality as best we can, but it's never totally accurate. And we have to be aware of all those biases and flaws.
Well, good to hear Dr. Novella using one of your vocabulary words there, Sam, bias. But did you pick out any other interesting word there?
Yeah, so the word gullible is interesting. We use this word for someone who is willing to believe things without questioning. It makes them really easy to trick. So I remember when I was at school, a teacher told me that the word gullible wasn't in the dictionary.
Did you believe them?
Well, I thought about it for a second because it was a teacher who told me and I trusted them. And then I was going to tell my friends because I thought it was interesting, but I thought I should probably check it out first. And of course, the word was in the dictionary. So being a skeptic and a critical thinker means not believing everything you see or hear, not liking and sharing something, even if we agree with it or it feels right to us, until we have evidence to support it. It may not be important whether a word is in a dictionary or not, but it is when thinking about the areas of science, health, and politics.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of an effort. It's easy to check a dictionary to see if a word is in there, but it is more difficult with more complex issues. So how do we start with this? Here's Dr. Novella again.
So whenever I come across a question or a topic that I want to wrap my head around, I make sure that I specifically look for information on all sides. It may be more than two sides, but on all what I think are at least viable opinions. If there's any large group of people or respected professionals or whatever who are saying something, I want to at least understand what their point is. What is their side? And until you sort of sort through the back and forth of different arguments, you don't really have a good sense of who has the better position. And if I follow a good process, I look for as many differing opinions as I can, keep a genuinely open mind, don't prejudge the conclusion, and then see, okay, who has the better evidence? And when you do that habitually, you do that all the time, you get pretty good at it. Just like anything, you do it all the time and you'll get better at it. It still takes work to wrap your head around any complex issue, but you have a fighting chance if you do that process.
It seems to have some similarity with what journalists do, looking for different sources and analyzing the evidence.
And it's important to look not only at different sources, but also at different points of view.
Of course, this isn't something you need to do for everything. Some things are easy to check and some things are not that controversial. But when it comes to science, medicine and health, for example, there are many claims that we might like to believe, but which may not be accurate. So it's a good idea to develop some of those research skills if you want to be a critical thinker. This is something that Dr. Novella thinks is essential for students and adults to develop. But it's not the only thing, so here's a look at what else he thinks is important.
I do think that we need to teach critical thinking as a core skill set to all children and adults, and what's called media literacy. I think media literacy is more important than it ever was. It's only going to get even more important. So people need to understand not just scientific literacy, but critical thinking and media literacy. That is the currency now of the modern world. We all have access to massive amounts of information. I mean, it's unbelievable when you think about it. At the touch of your fingers, you have access to the collective knowledge of humanity. It's amazing. And so the real currency is in being able to find the information that you want and evaluate it critically. Being able to evaluate the information that we have access to critically is now probably the most important skill any individual can have. And that's what now I think like the science communicators are shifting towards. Like that's what we have to teach people. They can find the facts online. We need to teach them how to know it when they find it.
So Sam, as well as critical thinking, what else does Dr. Novella think is an essential skill?
Well, that would be media literacy, which is an understanding of how the media and social media works and how it's being used for good and for bad.
And it's also about being aware of where you get your information from, people on social media, blogs, and websites you follow. So Sam, can you just please recap today's vocabulary for us?
Absolutely. So we started off with spin, which is a way to present information in a positive way, as positive as possible, even if it's not actually particularly good news. Cherry-picking details is to choose only the information that agrees with your views and ignore any inconvenient facts. A bias is a belief that something is good or bad, which isn't based on evidence, but is based on prejudices or our own beliefs and our own ideology. Critical thinking is the skill of evaluating and judging how accurate something is objectively, without bias, without spin, and without cherry-picking data. A skeptic is someone who wants to use logic and evidence and not emotion when judging how accurate something is. The adjective gullible is used for people who aren't skeptical, who easily believe what they're told and what they read. And finally, media literacy is an awareness of our modern media environment and an understanding of how media and social media works and how fake news and disinformation can spread.
Thank you very much, Sam. I think you deserve a rest after that. And thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Protests in Iran. Younger generation demand change. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Beth. Make sure you watch to the end to learn vocabulary to talk about this story.
And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like the video, and try the quiz on our website. Now, the story.
Neither headscarf nor humiliation. Freedom and equality. This is one thing university students in Iran have been shouting. Protests began in Iran and around the world last month when a young woman died after being arrested by the morality police for not covering her hair. Many members of the younger generation say they want a different lifestyle and don't identify with the Iranian regime. Human rights groups say 200 people have died in the protests so far.
You've been looking at the headlines, Beth. What's the vocabulary?
We have fan flames, wave, and Gen Z.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's have a look at our first headline.
This one is from the Financial Times. Iranian celebrities fan flames of anti-regime protests.
And so the headline is saying that celebrities inside and out of Iran are taking part in anti-regime protests. That's protests against the current political system. But the expression that we are looking at is fan flames, or fully, fan the flames of something. And we need to break that down. The first part is the word fan. Now, Beth, we are in a TV studio. There are lights, they're quite hot.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes it gets so hot in here that we have to fan ourselves to cool down.
Yeah, okay, so that's the first part, fan. We need to look at the second part now, flames. If you light a fire, let's say a barbecue, and you want to make the flames more intense, you can fan the flames and they get stronger. That's the expression, fan the flames, but we're not talking literally here.
No, so generally speaking, fan the flames is an expression used metaphorically, and it usually means to make a tense situation even more tense. Now, in this headline, celebrities are encouraging and supporting the protests, so that's why we're using it. They are making the fire bigger or making the protests bigger.
That's right. So celebrities want to encourage the protesters to carry on until they achieve what they're trying to get. They are fanning the flames. Do we have any other expressions like this?
Yes, we have add fuel to the fire. Now, if you add fuel, something like wood or coal, to a fire, then it gets bigger. Now, again, this expression is used metaphorically, and it means to encourage a situation in which there are strong or high emotions.
Okay, let's take a look at that again. Let's have our next headline.
This is from France 24. Fame no shield from frightening Iran arrest wave.
And so the headline is saying that fame, or being famous, is not a shield against arrest. A shield is something that protects you. So celebrities are also being arrested. But the word we're interested in is wave, but we're not talking about water or oceans, are we?
No, but if you think about a wave in the ocean, it starts small and then it gets bigger before getting smaller again. So in this headline, wave is used to mean that a lot of arrests are happening at the moment, arrest wave.
Yes, so since the protests began, there's been a large number of arrests, a wave of arrests. This word wave we can see used in other contexts with a sort of similar meaning.
Yes, so in the summer this year we heard a lot about heat waves. That's high temperatures for a specific amount of time. We also sometimes hear about a wave of sickness, which is lots of people getting sick at the same time.
Yeah. Are there any other words like wave that have this similar meaning?
Yeah, so we can use surge. Again, like a wave, it's connected to water, but it's used metaphorically to mean a large amount of something happening at one time, like a power surge or a crowd surge, for example.
Okay, let's look at that one more time. Our next headline, please.
This is from The Telegraph. How Gen Z, or Gen Z as they say in the US, became the Iranian regime's most fearsome opponent.
Yes, so the headline is saying that Gen Z is a fearsome opponent of the regime. Fearsome means frightening, and opponent is someone or a group against another group. And the headline is saying that this group, Gen Z, are the most frightening opposition group for the government in Iran. But who or what exactly is Gen Z or Gen Z?
Well, Gen Z is short for Generation Z, and it refers to people who were born in the late 1990s and early 2000s.
Now, in Iran, a lot of the protesters are school age or university age, and that is the age group that's known as Gen Z. But we have other names for other generations. What are they?
Yeah, so we have millennials. That refers to people born between the early 1980s and the mid-90s. That's me. We then have Generation X. They were born between mid-1960 and the early 1980s.
And that's me.
And then there are the baby boomers who were born after World War II.
Yes, and that's my parents' generation. So why do we have these expressions? Why do we need them?
Well, classifying groups of people by their age is an easy way to differentiate between different groups of people, different generations. And it can make it easier for the reader if they immediately know which generation and their kind of supposed characteristics that they're reading about.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at that again. We've had fan the flames of something, encourage an already tense situation.
Wave. Lots of things are happening at once.
And Gen Z, the group of people born between the late 1990s and the early 2000s.
Don't forget, there is a quiz on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye.
Як розповісти англійською про свої посадові обов'язки? Чим розрізняються responsibilities, duties та obligations? Які дієслова та іменники використати для опису ієрархії керівників та підлеглих in English? Хто такі CO, OC та 2IC? Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це канал Армійська англійська. І сьогодні в нас максимально корисний, насичений потрібною лексикою урок. Тому що стандарт НАТО з мовної підготовки передбачає, що ви вмієте говорити та доповідати in English про ваші посадові обов'язки, обов'язки ваших колег, давати опис ієрархії підрозділу. Тому, незалежно від того, яке у вас звання чи посада, занотовуйте, запам'ятовуйте і використовуйте сьогоднішню лексику. Корисними іменниками для опису обов'язків можуть бути responsibilities, duties та obligations. Замість дієслова to be в цих фразах можна вживати дієслова involve або include. In the military intelligence unit, our responsibilities, duties, obligations involve gathering information. A commander's obligations include a wide range of tasks. Однак, інколи значення цих слів можуть дещо відрізнятися. Responsibilities може використовуватись для опису задач або дій, які регулярно виконують, обіймаючи певну посаду. Слово responsibilities передбачає певну відповідальність. The sergeant's responsibility is to lead and train the squad effectively. A private's responsibilities are to follow orders, undergo basic training and develop their military skills and knowledge. Слово duties позначає специфічні задачі або функції, які також виконуються регулярно. A soldier's duties are to patrol the designated areas and report any suspicious activities. Saper's duties involve breaching obstacles, such as minefields. Слово obligations використовують, коли необхідно підкреслити, що певна дія виконується відповідно до морального або юридичного обов'язку військового. One of your obligations as a soldier is to carry out your duties to standard and the best of your ability. Крім того, говорячи про відповідальність, ви можете застосовувати фрази to be responsible for, to be in charge of. Зверніть увагу на прийменники. An ordnance officer is responsible for weapons systems, vehicles and equipment. A supply officer is in charge of inspecting and storing supplies. Обіймаючи керівні посади, військові можуть використовувати такі дієслова для опису своїх керівних обов'язків. To manage – керувати – вживається для опису дій, пов'язаних з організацією процесів, координацією ресурсів, особового складу або різних видів діяльності задля досягнення поставлених цілей. The logistics officer manages the supply chain. NCOs manage the day-to-day operations. To direct – спрямовувати, to control – контролювати, to lead – очолювати, вести за собою. Зверніть увагу, lead – це неправильне дієслово, і його три форми – lead, led, led. A squad leader uses his authority to direct and control his soldiers. Officers lead, coach and train subordinates. Слово order може бути як іменником, так і дієсловом, і перекладатись, відповідно, як наказ або віддавати наказ. Іменник order означає офіційне розпорядження, яке окреслює, що можна і чого не можна робити. The soldiers received an order to start a counteroffensive. Почати контрнаступ. War criminals usually say that they only follow orders. Уповноважена особа віддає накази, gives orders. A senior rank gives orders to a junior rank. The commander gave an order to take defensive positions. Дієслово to order часто використовується для позначення окремої команди виконати певну дію або задачу. The general orders to advance on the enemy position. Наступати на позицію ворога. A lieutenant ordered his subordinates to open fire. Близьким за значенням до слова order є слово command. Команди віддають керівники, superiors, тим, хто нижче за рангом, low-ranking soldiers. І часто ці команди асоціюються з основним курсом бойової підготовки. Sergeants give drill commands to recruits. Some common drill commands include attention, at ease, march. Якщо необхідно підкреслити важливість та авторитетність вказівок, то command можна використати як дієслово. Варто згадати про ще одне значення слова command, яке використовується у військовій справі. Іменник перекладається як командування, а дієслово, відповідно, командувати або керувати певним підрозділом. A division is under the command of a major general. An experienced officer commands the reconnaissance platoon. Colonel takes command of U.S. Army garrison Fort Jackson. Takes command – приймає командування. Пізніше ми ще повернемося до слова command і розберемо ще одну важливу фразу з ним, а просто зараз перевірте, чи ви підписані на наш канал, і поміркуйте, кому з ваших колег та знайомих може знадобитись і стати в пригоді ця інформація. Допомагайте нам поширювати цей освітній контент для українських військових, щоб наша українська армія якнайшвидше вийшла на найвищий рівень не тільки за бойовими здобутками, а й за рівнем володіння англійською. Якщо вам подобаються наші уроки, ви можете підтримати наш проєкт не тільки поширеннями, вподобайками та коментарями. Реквізити нашого благодійного фонду, а також посилання на платформу Buy Me a Coffee в описі до цього відео. Накази в армії не тільки віддають, give, їх ще й обов'язково виконують, follow. Soldiers must follow orders promptly and efficiently during combat situations. It is important to follow orders so that the mission can be successful. Щоб сказати про виконання наказів англійською, можна використати дієслово to obey. Однак obey orders підкреслює ієрархію і визнання авторитету офіцера, тоді як follow orders використовується у більш загальному сенсі. Members of the military must obey lawful orders and regulations. CO, OC, 2IC. Ці абревіатури ми вже згадували у відео про те, як описати підрозділ. Подивіться його, якщо ви пропустили або забули. А я нагадаю вам, що ці абревіатури використовуються для позначення специфічних ролей і посад (specific roles and positions) у військовій ієрархії (chain of command) Збройних сил Британії та інших країн. CO означає commanding officer, командуючий полком, regiment, або батальйоном, a battalion. Це старші офіцери, senior officers, які мають широкі повноваження, overall authority, та несуть відповідальність за діяльність підрозділу, are responsible for units operations, підготовку та добробут особового складу, training and welfare of the military personnel. Абревіатура OC розшифровується як Officer Commanding – командир меншого підрозділу, наприклад, a platoon – взводу, or a company – роти. 2IC або Second in Command використовується для позначення заступника командира будь-якого підрозділу. В його обов'язки входить his responsibilities include допомагати командирам, assist the CO or OC, а також виконувати їхні обов'язки в разі їх відсутності, take charge in their absence. Усім відомо, що армія – це організована і ієрархічна структура, an organized hierarchical structure, в якій відображається поділ військовослужбовців, the division of military personnel, на вищі та нижчі посади і ранги, into those who rank above and those who rank below. Тут спостерігається суровий порядок підлеглості. There is a strict chain of command here. Chain of command може означати командну вертикаль, військову ієрархію або ж порядок підлеглості. У цій ієрархії кожен ранг є підзвітним своєму безпосередньому вищому керівництву. Is accountable to the one directly superior. Які ж слова використовуються для позначення керівників та підлеглих? Superior – це начальник або керівник. Означає військового, що має вищу посаду. The platoon leader reports directly to his superiors, the company commander and the battalion commander. Для позначення військового, який має нижчу посаду, в англійській мові використовується слово subordinate. The sergeant gives orders to his subordinates to complete their assigned tasks efficiently. А як же називати тих, хто перебуває на одній сходинці з вами у військовій ієрархії? Це peers, колеги або побратими, brothers in arms, брати по зброї, або comrades, товариші. During the intense battle, soldiers rely on their peers for support. The task of the OC is to create a group of comrades who can support each other during a mission. Brothers in arms fight side by side and develop a strong bond. Цей урок був наповнений матеріалом, і ця лексика точно знадобиться вам у комунікації англійською. Складайте свої приклади, опишіть chain of command у вашому підрозділі, запишіть кілька речень, використовуючи сьогоднішні слова та фрази. Нагадую вам, що англійська, як фізо, потребує регулярності і постійних тренувань. До речі, про тренування ми також скоро поговоримо. А поки я, Олена Чекрижова, вчителька на каналі Армійська англійська, дякую всім, хто нам допомагає створювати цей освітній продукт, і всім, хто забезпечує нам захист і оборону.
Speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken describes what he sees happening in the Gaza Strip as gut-wrenching. In China, official government data shows the country's economy grew at a rate of 5.2% in 2023, beating a target of 5%. South Korean and Japanese nuclear diplomats meet in Seoul to discuss North Korea's threats and latest military activities. And in Zambia, officials say at least 363 people have died in a cholera outbreak that has sickened more than 9,500 people.
Amazon River hits its lowest water levels in over 120 years. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Beth.
And I'm Phil. Make sure you watch to the end to learn the vocabulary that you need to talk about this story.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and try the quiz on our website. Now, today's story.
Water levels in the Amazon River are at their lowest since records began 121 years ago. It's because of a shortage of rain caused by the natural El Niño effect, but Brazilian scientists say that climate change is also to blame. A state of emergency has been declared in Manaus and 20 other cities.
You've been looking at the headlines. What's the vocabulary?
We have drought, overwhelm, and taints.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's have a look now at our first headline.
This is from CNN. Amazon rivers fall to lowest levels in 121 years amid a severe drought.
This headline says that the Amazon has fallen to its lowest level in 121 years, and this is because of a drought. Drought is the word we're going to be learning about. Phil, what can you tell us about drought?
Okay, so drought is a period of very dry weather where there is little or no rain, and it can cause problems, things like crops failing or wildfires. To talk about the situation, we can use it as an uncountable noun, drought, but we can also talk about a drought to talk about a specific period of drought.
Okay, but it's not just used for dry weather. I've heard this term used in sports, for example.
Yes, so in football you could talk about a goal drought, and that's where you have a player who usually scores lots of goals and they just stop scoring. And we use drought here because in the same way that water stops flowing, so the goals have stopped flowing.
And one more thing to note about drought is that the pronunciation and the spelling are quite different. So we spell it D-R-O-U-G-H-T, but it's pronounced drought. Okay, let's look at that again. Let's have a look at our next headline.
This is from The Times. Forest fires threaten to overwhelm the Amazon basin.
The headline says that there are forest fires in the Amazon basin. That's because the drought is making everything dry. Now, the word we're interested in is the verb overwhelm. This has lots of different meanings, Phil, but it's quite literal here, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The forest fires could suddenly and completely cover the area. They could overwhelm it. But we can actually use it in different ways as well.
Yes, we can use overwhelm to talk about work or emotions, can't we? Can you give us some other examples?
Yes, so we can use it as a passive or we can use it as an adjective. So if, for example, you say that you're overwhelmed with work, that means you've got too much and you can't cope with it. If you watch a film that's very emotional, you could say it's overwhelming if it makes you cry a lot.
Well, hopefully this episode of News Review hasn't overwhelmed you, although Phil, your presenting has been very moving. Okay, let's look at that again. Next headline, please.
This is from VOA. Wildfire smoke taints air for millions in Brazil.
So we've already heard that the drought in the Amazon has led to wildfires. This headline says that the smoke from the fire taints the air, and we are looking at the word taint. Now, Phil, doesn't this mean turning something good bad?
Yes, the smoke taints the air, and we don't want smoke in the air. We can use it more generally to talk about turning something good into something bad, and actually we often use it by turning it into the adjective tainted.
That's right. And other things can be tainted, like you said. For example, a relationship. Maybe someone in a relationship does a bad thing, the other person can't trust them, so the relationship is ruined, it's tainted.
We can also use it to talk about people's reputations. Think of a politician caught up in a scandal, it can taint their reputation with the public.
Okay, let's look at that again. We've had drought, a period of time with no rain.
Overwhelm, cover something completely and quickly.
And taints, turns something good to bad.
Now, if you're interested in the Amazon, we've got another episode of News Review that we think you'll really like. Click on it now.
And don't forget to click here to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another video. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Are you lazy, greedy and selfish? Then you need to learn Goblin Mode, Oxford's 2022 Word of the Year. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Beth. Make sure you watch to the end to learn vocabulary to talk about this story.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video and try the quiz on our website. Now, the story.
What word describes lazy, greedy, shameless behaviour? It's Goblin Mode, and it's Word of the Year according to one UK publisher. Since the pandemic, some people have realised they don't want to go back to the lifestyle they had before. They want to stay in Goblin Mode. Oxford University Press chooses a word each year that reflects the mood of the past 12 months.
You've been looking at the headlines, Beth. What's the vocabulary?
We have speaks to, over and unveils.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's have a look at our first headline.
This one comes from The Guardian. Goblin Mode. New Oxford Word of the Year speaks to the times.
Okay, well, first of all, Goblin Mode. A goblin is a small, ugly, possibly dangerous creature, a fictional one. Mode is a way of doing something. So together, Goblin Mode describes a way of doing something in a kind of unpleasant, slightly embarrassing way. So, for example, Beth, I'm sure you never did this, but working from home, wearing pyjamas in bed.
No, yeah, never did that, no.
Okay, that's Goblin Mode. We're looking at the expression speaks to, and in the headline it speaks to the times. What does it mean?
Yeah, so speaks to the times is a reflection of the mood of the people at that time.
So the times referred to in the headline is talking about this current time, so the post-pandemic world. Now, during the pandemic, when obviously key workers who had to do really essential jobs were very, very busy, but a lot of other people were forced to be lazy because there was nothing to do.
Exactly, yeah, they enjoyed wearing their pyjamas, didn't wear makeup, they didn't care about their appearance as much, so they went Goblin Mode.
Yeah, and so Goblin Mode speaks to the times. It means it reflects the times as they were. Now, is this common?
It is in American English, and it's becoming more popular in British English. So, for example, we could say that the climate crisis speaks to a failure of governments for decades.
Yeah, it means it reflects a failure. Let's take a look at that again. Let's take a look at our next headline.
This is from the Huffington Post. Oxford's Word of the Year sums up exactly how over everything we all are.
So the headline says that the Word of the Year sums up how we feel. Sums up means summarizes. We are looking though at over, and that seems simple. I know over, you go over a bridge, the bridge goes over a river. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, in your examples you've used over as a preposition, but here it's actually an adjective.
Right, okay. So what does it mean?
Well, if you're over something, then you are tired, bored, and unenthusiastic about something. So maybe initially at the beginning you were quite enthusiastic, but now you're ready for it to finish.
Okay, so you've had enough of something, you're fed up with it.
Yeah, exactly. So the World Cup, I was quite enthusiastic about it at the beginning, but now I feel like it's been going on for ages. I am over it.
Oh, really? I'm still really into the World Cup, and that's the opposite of over, isn't it?
It is. And we very often use so with this. We say, I'm so over it. Now, in the headline, it refers to how unenthusiastic people are about everything. And when they say everything, they mean this year, all the negative events going on.
There's a lot of bad news around. This use of over is quite informal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very often used in spoken conversation. So I might be having a chat with you and say, I am over working from home. I want to be in the office 5 days a week.
Oh, here we are. Let's take a look at that again. Let's take a look at our next headline.
This one is from Fox News. Oxford Dictionary unveils 2022 word of the year, goblin mode.
We're looking at the word unveils. It makes me think of a traditional wedding where a bride wears a veil over her face and then it's removed, everyone can see the face.
Yeah, and it helps to think of it in this way because that is the literal meaning of unveil. But here it's metaphorical and it just means to reveal or uncover.
Yeah, you can imagine, you said it's metaphorical, but Oxford have this word, goblin mode, with a little curtain over it. They open it and we can all see it.
Yes, exactly. This word is also used when something like a new exhibition or a new piece of art is uncovered or revealed.
Yeah, and politicians use it as well to talk about their plans. But is it used in everyday conversation? Can I say to you, I'd like to unveil my Christmas plans?
No, not really, because it's quite a grand thing. It might be that a company or a celebrity might unveil something, so you'd probably just tell me what your Christmas plans are.
Okay, let's look at that again. We've had speaks to, reflects.
Over, bored of something that's been happening for a long time.
And unveils, shows for the first time.
Don't forget there's a quiz on our website at bbclearningenglish.com.
Thank you for joining us and goodbye.
Bye.
"30 days to remove TikTok. The White House bans the app from government devices." This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Beth. Make sure you watch to the end to learn vocabulary to talk about this story.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video and try the quiz on the website. Now the story.
The US and now Canada have banned TikTok from government phones. They are concerned the Chinese app could be a security risk. Chinese authorities have criticised the move, saying it's an overreaction.
You've been looking at the headlines, Beth. What's the vocabulary?
We have purging, citing, and overstretching.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's have a look at our first headline.
This is from Reuters. Exclusive. White House sets deadline for purging TikTok from federal devices.
So the White House has ordered all US government agencies to remove TikTok from its work devices. And the word we're looking at is purging.
Now, purging is a verb, and in this case, it means to remove something or someone from something else, particularly because it might be harmful. Now, here in the headline, it's saying that TikTok is seen as a risk, so it's seen as something that could be harmful.
Yeah, and the word purge and purging is used in a number of contexts, but what they all have in common is this idea of removing harm or what is seen by some as harmful. So the police might purge crime. They want to get crime out of a city. Or a company might want to purge waste. That means stop wasting things so they can make more money.
That's right. Now, purge can also be used to talk about removing people, particularly from an organization if the leaders don't agree with them. Now, imagine there's a new government and the previous leader's supporters are purged or removed from the organization.
Yeah, and the word purge there is negative. You know when somebody uses the word purge that they don't agree with what's happening. Let's look at that again. Let's have a look at our next headline.
This is from NPR. Citing security concerns, Canada bans TikTok on government devices.
So this story is from Canada, but it's similar to the one from the US. The Canadian government has decided to ban TikTok from its government devices. The word we're looking at is citing.
Yeah, now citing is a verb and it means giving a reason for doing something. Now, the Canadian government have said that security concerns are the reason for banning TikTok from these work devices. Now, this is a little bit formal, isn't it? But that's why it's used more in written English than spoken English.
Yes, and you will see this word a lot in academic writing. So, for example, when you're writing a university essay, you have to cite other academics and research to construct your argument and make it stronger.
Yeah, and there's a noun for this, which is a citation.
Yeah, let's look at that again. Let's have a look at our next headline.
This is from Al Arabiya. China says US overstretching concept of national security on TikTok ban.
So the Chinese Foreign Ministry has criticized this decision by the US. The word we're looking at is overstretch, and the second part of that word is stretch, which means to pull something.
It does, yeah. If you stretch, say, your clothes, for example, you pull them, and if you overstretch them, then you pull them so far that they become too big or they rip and get a hole in them.
Yes, so that's the literal meaning. Here we are talking figuratively, but it contains that same idea of trying to get too much from something and it becomes damaged because of that. So for example, if you try to work more than you can be overstretched and you are in a way damaged.
Yeah, that's right. So in relation to this story and this headline, China is saying that the US is overstretching or exaggerating the idea of national security being a problem, and that is damaging this Chinese company.
Okay, let's look at that again. We've had purging, removing something considered harmful.
Citing, giving the reason for something.
And overstretching, getting something to do more than it can.
And to learn even more vocabulary like this, while still discussing the world of social media, click on this video now.
And don't forget to click here to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another video.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
Які основні частини літака позначаються скороченням WEFT для легшого запам'ятовування? За якими параметрами розрізнити F-Fighter – винищувач та A-Bomber – бомбардувальник? Як відрізнити Attack Helicopters від Transport Helicopters. Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це армійська англійська. Перший в Україні канал із мовної підготовки для українських військових. В одному з попередніх уроків ми говорили про розпізнавання наземної техніки. А цей урок присвятимо розпізнаванню авіаційної техніки. Я познайомлю вас із лексикою, яка знадобиться для опису різних типів літаків та літальних апаратів. Розберемо купу цікавих та потрібних слів, термінів та понять із сфери військової авіації. Тому приготуйтесь занотовувати та запам'ятовувати. У створенні цього уроку мені посприяли викладачі Центру іноземних мов Національного університету оборони України, а також волонтери проєкту «Армійська англійська». Подяка їм за це. Європейські, американські та азійські країни мають власні типи літаків. Проте не так важливо знати їхні назви, як розрізняти їхню функціональну роль. Існує 6 основних типів літаків, про які я вам уже розповідала в уроці під назвою Types of Aircraft. І нагадаю, що це винищувачі – fighters, бомбардувальники – bombers, транспортні літаки – Transport Aircraft, літаки, оснащені засобами раннього радіолокаційного попередження та контролю і засобами радіоелектронної боротьби. Airborne Early Warning and Control and Electronic Warfare Aircraft. Транспортні гелікоптери, Transport Helicopters, штурмові гелікоптери, Attack Helicopters. Поговоримо детальніше про характеристики літаків. Кожен літальний апарат має 4 основні компоненти, за якими можна визначити його роль. У запам'ятовуванні їх нам допоможе акронім WEFT – Wing – крило, Engine – двигун, Fuselage – фюзеляж та Tail – хвіст. Винищувачі fighters можуть використовуватися для перехоплення interception, ведення розвідки reconnaissance та штурму attack. Винищувач-перехоплювач an interceptor контролює повітряний простір controls airspace та стоїть на заваді доступу до нього ворожої авіації denies enemy aircraft access to the airspace. Розвідувальний літак a reconnaissance aircraft знаходить ціль візуально locates targets visually або за допомогою фото чи електронних сенсорів or by using photographic or electronic sensors. Штурмовик a ground attack aircraft здійснює атаки на наземні цілі conducts attacks against ground targets, включно з interdiction – блокування та ускладнення дій супротивника та завдання з безпосередньої авіаційної підтримки close air support missions. Серед характеристик винищувачів виділяють такі. Майже всі вони мають зброю, встановлену під або над крилами weapons mounted under or on top of the wings. Впуск двигуна або двигунів engine or engines intake розташовано збоку або під фюзеляжем on the side or under the fuselage of the aircraft. Most fighters are smaller, менші than other types of aircraft. Вони можуть мати one or two tails. Горизонтальний або ж хвостовий стабілізатор the horizontal stabilizer та руль висоти, чи як його називають стерно висоти або кермо висоти the elevator розташовані on the fuselage. Maximum crew зазвичай 2 pilots. Нещодавно у нас вийшов урок, присвячений характеристикам F-16. Щоб дізнатися більше корисної авіалексики, переходьте за посиланням та вивчайте. Бомбардувальники – bombers – зазвичай більші за розміром та повільніші – bigger and slower than fighters. Їх розроблено, щоб атакувати наземні цілі на великих та малих висотах – to attack ground targets from high or low altitude. І вони можуть нести ядерні або звичайні боєприпаси – to deliver nuclear and conventional munitions. All bombers мають weapons mounted under the wings або в бомбовому відсіку. Його ще називають збройним відсіком – a bomb bay. Усі сучасні літаки-бомбардувальники мають реактивні двигуни – jet engines та є багатодвигунними – multi-engined. Переважно стратегічні бомбардувальники мають довші крила – longer wings, якщо порівняти їх з іншими літаками, та довгі хвости – long tails. Кабіна в цього типу літаків більша – a cabin area is larger, а the fuselage is longer and thinner – довший та тонший than on other types of aircraft. До речі, щоб порівнювати різні типи літаків англійською, вам неодмінно знадобиться знання такої граматичної теми, як degrees of comparison – ступені порівняння прикметників. Якщо ви плаваєте в граматиці, передивіться цей урок, де я коротко та зрозуміло пояснюю цю тему, щоб ви могли вільно висловлювати свої думки та вживати прикметники в різних ступенях порівняння. Транспортні літаки (transport aircraft) використовуються для перевезення матеріал, озброєння військової техніки, військового майна, матеріальних засобів, vehicles or personnel. На відміну від інших типів авіації, вони можуть літати з імпровізованих літовищ, can operate from makeshift airfields. Ось їхні характеристики. Високо розміщені крила (high mounted wings). Двигуни розташовано на крилах або ж під ними. Engines are situated on or under the wings. Ці літаки є зазвичай багатодвигунними multi-engined і мають реактивні двигуни jet engines або турбогвинтові двигуни turboprop engines. Крім того, вони мають широкий фюзеляж – a wide fuselage. Задня вантажна рампа – rear cargo ramp – служить для полегшення завантаження та розвантаження персоналу чи матеріалів – to facilitate loading and unloading. Хвостова частина – широка та висока – large high tail section. Авіаційна система раннього попередження та управління – AWACS Aircraft. AWACS – це абревіатура від Airborne Early Warning and Control System, що дослівно перекладається як «система попередження та контролю у повітрі». В українській мові використовується абревіатура DRLS, скорочено від «системи дальнього радіолокаційного стеження». AWACS має поворотну антенну a rotating radar dish чи дорсальний оптічник a dorsal pod. Базується на літаках цивільних моделей based on civilian pattern airframes. Літаки радіоелектронної боротьби Electronic Warfare Aircraft. Літаки радіоелектронної боротьби, інакше кажучи, РЕБи, чи, як їх називають, літаки радіоелектронної протидії або радіоелектронного придушення, Electronic Countermeasure, ECM, часто схожі на штурмові. Їхня задача – глушити комунікацію ворога та його радари повітряної оборони – to jam enemy communications and air defense radars. Реби зазвичай мають подвісний контейнер з електронікою – an electronics pod та сенсори – sensors на хвості або під крилами. транспортні гелікоптери, transport helicopters, move equipment and troops, та мають такі характеристики. Вони можуть не мати озброєння, may be unarmed, або бути оснащені лише кулеметами, have only machine guns. Зазвичай вони мають a wide fuselage, щоб умістити війська чи устаткування, to accommodate troops and equipment. Деякі мають два ротори або ж гвинти, rotors. Вони оснащені задньою рампою або боковими дверцятами. Equipped with a rear ramp or a side door. Перший та другий пілоти сидять пліч-опліч. A pilot and a co-pilot sit side by side. Штурмові гелікоптери, attack helicopters, беруть участь у патрулюванні, conduct patrol, супроводженні, escort, контрударах чи контрнаступах, counter-attack, а також у глибоких рейдах, deep raid operations. Вони мають такі характеристики: long, thin fuselage, підвісні контейнери зі зброєю, weapon pods, розташовані обабіч фюзеляжу, або на невеличких крильцях, що звуться winglets. Вони мають гармати або кулемети, cannons or machine guns, які розташовуються на передній нижній частині гелікоптера. Цю частину в англійській мові називають a nose – передня частина з кабіною, або a chin – передня нижня частина під кабіною. І часто в поворотній пусковій установці – in a turret. Стрілець – a gunner та пілот – a pilot зазвичай сидять тандемом, seated in tandem. Отже, друзі, в цьому уроці ми з вами розібрали достатньо спеціалізованої лексики, пов'язаної з авіацією, але не розкрили тему UAVs – Unmanned Aerial Vehicles – безпілотних літальних апаратів. Детальніше про UAVs, а простіше про дрони. Я, Олена Чекрижова, вчителька, планую поговорити з вами в наступних уроках на каналі Армійська англійська. А щоб це стало можливим, і ми з командою могли й далі працювати над цим курсом, створювати доступний освітній контент з англійської мови для українських військових, ви можете нас підтримати своєю вподобайкою, підпискою, коментарем, рекомендацією або ж гривнею. Звісно, якщо у вас є така можливість і бажання. Інформація про всі наші реквізити, а також посилання на всі уроки, які я згадувала сьогодні, в описі до цього відео. Які типи карт використовують військові та як розповісти про них англійською? Що таке MGRS і чому важливо запам'ятати цю абревіатуру? Як сказати англійською курс, довжина, широта, масштаб, орієнтир на місцевості та інші терміни з топографії, які військові використовують для планування та виконання операцій та завдань? Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це канал Армійська англійська, де ми займаємося мовною підготовкою українських військових. І в цьому уроці ми розглядаємо основні топографічні терміни і корисну лексику з цієї теми. Нагадую, що більше інформації з військовою англійською в нашому інстаграмі та телеграмі. А якщо вам подобаються наші уроки, ви можете підтримати наш канал. Інформація знаходиться у описі до цього відео. Types of maps. Як називаються in English типи мап, які використовують військові в своїй роботі? Topographic map – це detailed map, яка надає a representation of the Earth's surface, включно з natural та human-made features, like mountains – гори, valleys – долини, forests – ліси, rivers – ріки, roads – дороги, and settlements – населені пункти. Topographic maps use contour lines – використовують контурні лінії to show changes in elevation and terrain, щоб показати зміни висоти над рівнем моря та місцевості. Ці мапи є необхідними crucial for strategic planning, movement and tactical decisions. Roadmap – дорожня мапа. Designed to assist with navigation – для допомоги з пересуванням. Ця мапа показує roads, highways, streets and transportation infrastructure. It often includes information about distances – відстані, routes – маршрути, intersections – перехрестя. Зверніть увагу на слово route. Воно перекладається як шлях, маршрут, курс та має два варіанти вимови. В британському варіанті це route, а в американському частіше вимовляють route. Tactical map використовується in military operations to plan and execute tactical maneuvers and strategies для планування та виконання тактичних маневрів та стратегій. It provides information on – дає інформацію про terrain – місцевість, enemy positions – позиції ворога, friendly forces – дружніх сил, objectives – цілей, routes and other tactical elements. Aeronautical chart – це спеціалізована мапа used in aviation to aid pilots in flight navigation, щоб допомагати пілотам у навігації. Nautical chart – used by mariners for marine navigation – для пересування морем. It displays – вона показує coastal features – прибережні особливості рельєфу, water depths – глибину, navigational aids – навігаційне обладнання та засоби, currents – потоки, and other information crucial for safe navigation at sea, naval and amphibious operations – для військово-морських та підводних операцій. До речі, серед наших уроків на цьому каналі є окремі відео про кораблі військово-морського флоту, а також про military aircraft – військову авіацію. Переходимо до іншої термінології, пов'язаної з топографією. Думаю, самі терміни не будуть для вас новими, а от їх переклад англійською варто знати. Крім того, я завжди оздоблюю свої пояснення іншою корисною лексикою, яка вам обов'язково знадобиться. Legend або key – це легенда мапи, умовні позначення. Scale – масштаб мапи, який є дуже важливим для distance measurement – вимірювання відстані. Compass rose – це symbol indicating the cardinal directions – north, south, east, west and sometimes intermediate directions – проміжні напрямки. Color code – кольорові позначки. Abbreviations, numeric codes and other symbols, як от contour lines, dot point symbols, line symbols, area symbols, icons використовуються для позначення areas, terrain features, cities, landmarks, орієнтирів на місцевості та інших features on the map. Крім того, існують military symbols, що represent military units, operations, equipment, communication infrastructure or signal stations. Waypoints – це specific points marked on a map – спеціальні точки, відмічені на мапі to guide a route, щоб позначити курс або маршрут. Grid Coordinate System – система координатної сітки. Сітка – це не тільки net, як ми з вами говорили в відео про смугу перешкод, а й grid. Це a system of squares or rectangles – система з квадратів або прямокутників, placed over a map, що розташована поверх мапи. To facilitate precise location identification – для полегшення точної ідентифікації місцезнаходження. using coordinates – за допомогою координат. Grid coordinates – це координати сітки. Latitude – широта. Це measurement – вимірювання, defining a location's distance north or south of the equator, що визначає відстань локації на північ або південь від екватора. Typically expressed in degrees – виражене в градусах. Longitude – це довгота. Measurement defining a location's distance east or west of the prime meridian – на схід або захід від Гринвіцького меридіану. Usually expressed in degrees. Military Grid Reference System – MGRS. Запам'ятайте цю абревіатуру. MGRS – це військова референційна система, стандарт геокоординат, який використовується військовими НАТО. Це a specific grid coordinate system which combines letters and numbers to represent locations precisely on the Earth's surface. Комбінує літери та цифри для точного визначення локації на поверхні Землі. The process of interpreting grid coordinates on a map – процес інтерпретації координатної сітки на мапі to determine a specific location's position – для визначення конкретного місця називається coordinate reading. Прокладання курсу або маршруту можна описати терміном navigation. Крім того, вам може зустрітися слово bearing – це азимут, пеленг або ж курс, напрямок. А терміном orientation описують узгодження мапи aligning the map with the real world to accurately interpret direction and location, щоб точно інтерпретувати напрямок та розташування. І про військову навігацію, орієнтацію, типи місцевості англійською ми поговоримо в наступних уроках. Залишайте коментар під цим відео. Напишіть, яка лексика була новою та корисною для вас сьогодні. Та перевірте, чи ви підписані на наш канал, чи поставили дзвіночок, щоб вчасно отримувати всі оновлення та сповіщення про наступні відеоуроки. Крім того, у нашого проєкту є Інстаграм та Телеграм, де ще більше корисного контенту для мовної підготовки українських військових. Долучайтесь, вивчайте та поширюйте. А я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька, і ми дуже скоро зустрінемось з вами на тій же широті та довготі, тут, на каналі Армійська англійська.
Let's learn English.
Hi, are you Anna?
Yes. Hi there. Are you Pete?
I am Pete.
Nice to meet you. Oh.
Listen. Hi.
Speak.
Listen.
I am Pete. Speak.
Speak and say your name. Listen.
Nice to meet you. Speak.
Let's try that again. I'm Anna. Nice to meet you.
I'm Pete. Anna, is that A-N-A?
No, A-N-N-A.
Now it's your turn. Listen.
I'm Anna. A-N-N-A.
Speak and say your name. Spell your name.
Well, Anna with two N's. Welcome to 1400 Irving Street.
My new apartment.
Hi, are you Anna?
Yes. Hi there. Are you Pete?
I am Pete.
Nice to meet you. Oh. Let's try that again. I'm Anna. Nice to meet you.
I'm Pete. Anna, is that A-N-A?
No, A-N-N-A.
Well, Anna with two N's. Welcome to 1400 Irving Street.
My new apartment.
Fake news.
Hello, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Sam.
Welcome to Fake News, Fact and Fiction from BBC Learning English. In this series, we're looking at a topic that's on the tip of everyone's tongues, fake news.
Yes, fake news. We'll find out what it is and what it isn't.
We'll look at where it comes from and how it can be dangerous.
And we'll also show you how you can become a fake news detective with tips and suggestions for developing your critical thinking skills.
We're starting today with the look at the word fake itself. What does it actually mean and how do we use it? Over to you, Sam.
Okay, well, actually, thank you, Hugo. I want to show you something I prepared earlier, so it's really over to me, Sam. So what do we know about the word fake? The word fake is first recorded in the late 18th century. It's slang used by criminals in London with meanings connected to their illegal activities. Today, it can be an adjective, a noun, or a verb, and is used when talking about things that are not real, not genuine, but are designed to make people think that they are real or are genuine. So where do we see this word? The news is full of stories of fakes. Fake works of art, fake concert tickets, fake documents, and fake qualifications, to name only a few. In some places, you can buy fake designer goods, either knowingly or unknowingly. However, those looking for a bargain could end up with dangerous fake goods or even fake medicines. All these kinds of fakes can be called counterfeit. Being fake isn't always for criminal reasons, though. People and how they act can be called fake too, like smiling, laughing, being injured, and even...
Yes!
Not confident but want to ace that job interview? Fake it till you make it. And sometimes what is fake is more ethical. For example, if you wear fur, is it real or fake? Fake fur is regarded to be more ethical, so much so that real fur is sometimes labeled as fake. So knowing what is real and what is fake and what is fake can be tricky. How do we choose what to buy, where to go, even where to stay? Many of us look at reviews online, but even then we have to watch out for fakes. The digital world of social media and the internet are places where it can be very difficult to tell what is fake and what is real. And that brings us to perhaps the most common phrase associated with the word fake these days.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Fake news. Do you hear what I'm saying?
There's something different here.
Yes, so obviously those were fake ears. And that's a fake laugh, but it's a comedy classic, fake ears, really just to demonstrate that not everything fake is bad.
And can I say that laugh was a counterfeit laugh?
That's a really good question, actually, but no. So we use the word counterfeit to describe real objects, real things that are fake. So for example, documents, money, paintings, jewelry, they can all be counterfeit, but a laugh, no matter how fake or false, is not counterfeit, no.
And have you had any experience with fake things?
So I did have a friend who was setting up his own business, and he did ask me to write him a fake review online.
What happened?
No comment. What about you?
I haven't bought anything fake or counterfeit, but I think we've seen, fake T-shirts, fake shoes, bags,
really
pretty
common.
much everywhere, right? But now let's turn to fake news itself.
Yeah, so the words fake and news, as we know, have existed separately for a very long time. But as a journalist, Hugo, when did you start seeing them together, being used as a thing?
I think we all became more familiar with it in the 2016 election campaign in the US, because Donald Trump was a big fan of it to essentially dismiss anything he didn't like. But you may be surprised to find out that he wasn't actually the first one to use it. Earlier, I was joined by Mike Wendling from BBC Trending. He's written a piece called The Almost Complete History of Fake News, and he was here to explain more about the recent history of this term. So people may be surprised that Donald Trump wasn't, the first one to use it back in the election in 2016.
No, actually, it was his opponent, Hillary Clinton, who was the first person to utter the words fake news. And she was describing a process by which people were inventing stories and they were going viral on social media. These stories were fake. They were being written, there was a famous example that was uncovered by BuzzFeed, where these stories were being written by people in Macedonia. And those people weren't necessarily interested in Trump or interested in bashing Hillary Clinton. What they were interested in was money. Through Facebook, they could draw people into their websites and then make money off of advertising. And that's why they wrote these sensationalized, completely made up stories that we now have come to know as fake news.
And misinformation, fake news has existed for many, many years, right? But now the difference is social media and how easy it is to, spread this kind of disinformation.
That's right. There's always been mistakes, propaganda, spin, or just lies by political candidates. That has always existed. This is a new type of information and a new type of how information spreads online. And what that means is that it can be spread faster than ever before by people who might be anonymous or might be thousands of kilometers away. So it's really a challenge for media organizations, social media organizations, and really all of us to try and figure out how to separate the truth from the fiction.
And you can find out more about Mike's work on the BBC Trending blog, on the BBC News website, and also on the BBC World Service. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So Sam, what did you make about what Mike was saying there?
I thought it was really, really interesting. And he mentioned words like spin and propaganda, which we are going to talk about more in a later program. But one word I wanted to pick up today was the term viral that he used. So viral is the adjective, and it comes from the noun virus, which, as you know, is a medical term. And as you also know, a virus can spread really, really quickly. So when we use something viral, when we use the term viral, to go viral online, it basically means it spreads really, really quickly across the internet.
No, we all know about it. Very interesting. Now, before we wrap up for today, Sam, remind us about the word fake.
Okay, absolutely. So fake means not real, it is not genuine, and grammatically the word fake can be a verb. So you can fake a smile, you can fake a laugh, as Hugo did before. You can also fake being confident. It can also be a noun, so a picture is a fake. The diamond ring my grandmother left me was a fake, for example. And it is commonly used as an adjective. So I was talking earlier about the fake review, which I, of course, didn't write. And also, if you're unlucky, you might buy fake tickets for a concert or things like that. If we're talking about fake objects like documents, money, or copies of well-known brands, for example, you can also use the word counterfeit.
Thank you, Sam. And that's all from us today. Do join us again next time on Fake News, Fact and Fiction.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Protests in Iran. Younger generation demand change. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Beth. Make sure you watch to the end to learn vocabulary to talk about this story.
And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like the video, and try the quiz on our website. Now, the story.
Neither headscarf nor humiliation. Freedom and equality. This is one thing university students in Iran have been shouting. Protests began in Iran and around the world last month when a young woman died after being arrested by the morality police for not covering her hair. Many members of the younger generation say they want a different lifestyle and don't identify with the Iranian regime. Human rights groups say 200 people have died in the protests so far.
You've been looking at the headlines, Beth. What's the vocabulary?
We have fan flames, wave, and Gen Z.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's have a look at our first headline.
This one is from the Financial Times. Iranian celebrities fan flames of anti-regime protests.
And so the headline is saying that celebrities inside and out of Iran are taking part in anti-regime protests. That's protests against the current political system. But the expression that we are looking at is fan flames, or fully, fan the flames of something. And we need to break that down. The first part is the word fan. Now, Beth, we are in a TV studio. There are lights, they're quite hot.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes it gets so hot in here that we have to fan ourselves to cool down.
Yeah, okay, so that's the first part, fan. We need to look at the second part now, flames. If you light a fire, let's say a barbecue, and you want to make the flames more intense, you can fan the flames and they get stronger. That's the expression, fan the flames, but we're not talking literally here.
No, so generally speaking, fan the flames is an expression used metaphorically, and it usually means to make a tense situation even more tense. Now, in this headline, celebrities are encouraging and supporting the protests, so that's why we're using it. They are making the fire bigger or making the protests bigger.
That's right. So celebrities want to encourage the protesters to carry on until they achieve what they're trying to get. They are fanning the flames. Do we have any other expressions like this?
Yes, we have add fuel to the fire. Now, if you add fuel, something like wood or coal, to a fire, then it gets bigger. Now, again, this expression is used metaphorically, and it means to encourage a situation in which there are strong or high emotions.
Okay, let's take a look at that again. Let's have our next headline.
This is from France 24. Fame no shield from frightening Iran arrest wave.
And so the headline is saying that fame, or being famous, is not a shield against arrest. A shield is something that protects you. So celebrities are also being arrested. But the word we're interested in is wave, but we're not talking about water or oceans, are we?
No, but if you think about a wave in the ocean, it starts small and then it gets bigger before getting smaller again. So in this headline, wave is used to mean that a lot of arrests are happening at the moment, arrest wave.
Yes, so since the protests began, there's been a large number of arrests, a wave of arrests. This word wave we can see used in other contexts with a sort of similar meaning.
Yes, so in the summer this year we heard a lot about heat waves. That's high temperatures for a specific amount of time. We also sometimes hear about a wave of sickness, which is lots of people getting sick at the same time.
Yeah. Are there any other words like wave that have this similar meaning?
Yeah, so we can use surge. Again, like a wave, it's connected to water, but it's used metaphorically to mean a large amount of something happening at one time, like a power surge or a crowd surge, for example.
Okay, let's look at that one more time. Our next headline, please.
This is from The Telegraph. How Gen Z, or Gen Z as they say in the US, became the Iranian regime's most fearsome opponent.
Yes, so the headline is saying that Gen Z is a fearsome opponent of the regime. Fearsome means frightening, and opponent is someone or a group against another group. And the headline is saying that this group, Gen Z, are the most frightening opposition group for the government in Iran. But who or what exactly is Gen Z or Gen Z?
Well, Gen Z is short for Generation Z, and it refers to people who were born in the late 1990s and early 2000s.
Now, in Iran, a lot of the protesters are school age or university age, and that is the age group that's known as Gen Z. But we have other names for other generations. What are they?
Yeah, so we have millennials. That refers to people born between the early 1980s and the mid-90s. That's me. We then have Generation X. They were born between mid-1960 and the early 1980s.
And that's me.
And then there are the baby boomers who were born after World War II.
Yes, and that's my parents' generation. So why do we have these expressions? Why do we need them?
Well, classifying groups of people by their age is an easy way to differentiate between different groups of people, different generations. And it can make it easier for the reader if they immediately know which generation and their kind of supposed characteristics that they're reading about.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look at that again. We've had fan the flames of something, encourage an already tense situation.
Wave. Lots of things are happening at once.
And Gen Z, the group of people born between the late 1990s and the early 2000s.
Don't forget, there is a quiz on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.
Bye.
Як сказати англійською вибухова хвиля, розтяжка, детонатор, елемент запобігання знешкодженню міни? Яка лексика знадобиться, щоб описати різні типи протипіхотних та протитанкових мін? Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це канал «Армійська англійська», перший в Україні канал зі спеціалізованої військової англійської. І в цьому уроці ми говоримо про landmines, які вони бувають та як розповідати англійською про їхні особливості та спосіб дії. A landmine пишеться разом або окремо. Is an explosive weapon, an encased explosive charge, вибуховий заряд, розміщений у контейнері, buried below або concealed under, захований під, or camouflage on the ground, замаскований на землі. They are designed to destroy or disable enemy targets. Вони створені, щоб знищувати або знешкоджувати ворожі цілі. Ranging from combatants to vehicles and tanks as they pass over, коли вони пересуваються повз or near a mine або біля міни. A landmine may cause damage, може спричинити пошкодження by direct blast effect, прямою дією вибухової ударної хвилі, by fragments, уламками, that are thrown by the blast, які розкидаються хвилею, або і тим, і тим. Landmines are typically laid throughout an area, закладаються на всій території, creating a minefield, мінне поле. Такий пристрій is detonated automatically by way of pressure, автоматично за допомогою тиску, when a target steps on it, наступає на нього, or drives over it, проїжджає над ним. Крім того, a landmine can be triggered by other detonation mechanisms, movement, sound, magnetism and vibration. Для детонації також використовують tripwires – дротяні нитки-розтяжки та remote control – дистанційне керування. A person who detonates a mine by remote control називається triggerman. Міна, яка активується, коли на неї наступають, when it is stepped on, наїжджають, driven over, ударяють, struck, називається victim activated. Anti-handling device – це елемент запобігання знешкодженню міни. Його функція – to prevent the clearing of mines – запобігати розмінуванню. There are two main categories of landmines – anti-personnel and anti-vehicle – протипіхотні та протитанкові. Розглянемо основну лексику, яка допоможе розповідати про ці міни англійською. Anti-personnel mines також позначають абревіатурою APM. Anti-personnel blast mines – протипіхотні міни фугасної дії, які вибухають на рівні ніг жертви. The casing of blast mines – корпус цих мін may be made of metal, wood or plastic. Міни цього типу, наприклад, міну пелюстка, яку в англійській називають green parrot or butterfly mine, можуть встановлювати remotely, віддалено, using a rocket salvo system, за допомогою реактивної системи залпового вогню. Directional fragmentation mines – це осколкові міни спрямованої дії, які propel pieces of metal shrapnel у того, хто її активував. Такі міни are usually triggered by tripwires, і вони часто використовуються in ambush situations, у засідках. Bounding fragmentation mines – це осколкові міни, що підстрибують та вибухають у повітрі. Вони містять a small charge – малий заряд, що піднімає міну into the air, та the main charge, який explodes, scattering fragments at about waist level, розкидуючи осколки на рівні пояса людини. Anti-vehicle mines, AVM, or anti-tank mines, ATM, are designed to damage or destroy vehicles, including tanks and armored fighting vehicles. Нагадаю, що ми вже говорили про armored vehicles, броньовані машини, у кількох відеоуроках, посилання на які ви знайдете в описі до цього відео. Anti-tank mines, як правило, мають a much larger explosive charge, набагато більший вибуховий заряд, ніж AP mines. And a fuse – підривник, детонатор, що є triggered, приводиться в дію by vehicles or remotely. Сучасні anti-vehicle mines використовують a magnetic trigger. Advanced mines здатні розпізнавати the difference between friendly and enemy types of vehicles. У зв'язку з агресією Росії проти України є велика ймовірність виявлення вибухонебезпечних предметів не тільки в регіонах, де ведуться активні бойові дії, а й на всій території держави. У наступних уроках ми розглянемо лексику з теми розмінування – mine clearing. Щоб не пропустити цю тему, ви знаєте, що робити. Підпишіться на цей канал, якщо ви все ще цього не зробили, та поставте дзвіночок, щоб отримувати нагадування про нові відео. Якщо ви вже підписані і регулярно дивитесь цей курс, хочете долучитися або підтримати нас, щоб допомогти команді армійської, англійської створювати ще більше освітніх матеріалів для українських військових, уся інформація про те, як це зробити, є в описі до цього відео. А я, Олена Чекрежова, вчителька, вдячна вам за увагу та підтримку. Ваші підписки, вподобайки та коментарі допомагають нам просувати наш соціальний освітній продукт на каналі Армійська Англійська та здійснювати мовну підготовку українських Збройних сил.
Fake news.
Hello, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Sam.
Welcome to Fake News, Fact and Fiction from BBC Learning English. In this series, we're looking at the fake news phenomenon, what it is, where it comes from, and how we can fight it.
Yes, and we're also looking at the language and vocabulary around fake news, so words and expressions that you might hear or want to use when discussing this hot topic.
And in the program today, how social media has changed the fake news landscape.
And I'll be giving you some news about news.
We'll also try to understand what fake news is and what it isn't. Now, Sam, last time you talked about the word fake. What have you got for us today?
Yeah, so today I'm talking about the word news. So where do you think that word comes from, Hugo?
It may be an acronym, like the first letters from north, east, west, and south, like the points of the compass.
Very good. That's a good guess, and you're not alone in thinking that, but let's find out if you're right. Here's something I recorded earlier. News, news, news. News is all around me. Wherever you get yours from, where does the word itself come from? Is it an acronym for North, East, West, and South? No. Does it stand for notable events, weather, and sports? Nope again. Does it simply mean things that are new? Yes. It comes from the late 1300s from the French word nouvelle. News is simply new information about something that has happened. It's unusual in English because the word new is an adjective, but news is not an adjective. It's a noun, an uncountable noun. And even though it has an S, it's singular. So news is good or bad. We have several expressions in English using the word news. For example, no news is good news, which basically means if you haven't heard anything, there are no problems. That's news to me. I didn't know that. Breaking news, new news, something very important that has recently happened. And if you break the news, you are the person who passes the news on. But if you do break the news, make sure it's not fake news.
That's really interesting, and a lot of that was news to me.
Ah, very good, Hugo. I see what you did there.
And what about you, Sam? What do you get your news from?
honestly, truly, I mostly get it from the BBC News app.
That goes without saying.
Obviously.
Yeah. I also get my news from the BBC, but I find it really important to get news from different sources, because you can always get different voices and different takes on what is happening. So we know about the word fake and the word news. Put them together and you get fake news. But what does it actually mean? Here's the BBC's media editor, Amal Rajan.
Fake news is lies and propaganda told for a political or commercial purpose, which deploys digital technology, social media, new networks to go viral, to reach around the world and influence millions of people very, very quickly.
So fake news is information that isn't true, and the reason might be political or commercial, to change opinion or make money.
Yes, so I'd like to talk about one of the words that Amal used, the word propaganda. So this comes up a lot when talking about this topic, and let's just check that we know what it means before we move forward. So propaganda is a noun, and it describes information which is put out for political reasons, to get support for a political party or a political cause, and it's designed to promote a particular agenda, so to persuade people to think a particular way or make people support a particular policy. Propaganda isn't always completely fake, but it's often very one-sided and unbalanced and may mix lies and the truth. So I guess that's one of the challenges of being a journalist, Hugo, is making sure that you can actually determine what is true and what isn't.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, and it's not made easier by social media. Amal mentioned there that digital technologies and social media are tools used to spread fake news. But what is the problem here? Let's get more about that. So earlier, we put some questions to today's expert guest.
Hi, my name is Samantha Bradshaw. I'm a researcher at the Oxford Internet Institute, and I study how disinformation affects democracy. Fake news has been around for as long as we've had the printing press, so there's nothing necessarily new about fake news. The ways in which digital technologies can enhance the spread and the precision of these kinds of stories is something that is new. So fake news on social media can spread much more quickly and to many more people because the flow of information is very free compared to in the past where we had journalists, editors, TV channels controlling the flow of information and what would or would not get published. Today, anybody with a keyboard can essentially be a publisher.
Lots of interesting stuff there.
Yes, so the first thing I noticed is that she used the word disinformation. And that is often used to describe kinds of fake news or false information that is deliberately published and spread. She also made the point that fake news, as we know, is not new, but it's always been around. But with social media and the digital world, it's allowed to spread further and faster, and without it being controlled by traditional broadcasters and publishers. So now, I know there's a problem there, obviously, but doesn't this also mean that there's now a bit more of a democracy of information? Isn't it a good thing that we don't only have these traditional sources, particularly if those sources are government-run or run by one particularly powerful individual?
That's a very good point, because if you remember what happened during the Arab Spring in the Middle East, or even protests in Iran and in many other countries around the world, social media gave people a very important tool to express themselves. And, well, basically, journalists got to know what was happening because of that.
Because they weren't allowed in the country in some cases.
Absolutely. The difference here is that maybe those people who are publishing these, this kind of information, they don't go through all the checks that we, working for mainstream media or traditional news organizations, have to go through, which is we interview people, we check the facts, we recheck the facts to make sure that everything is accurate. And of course, we make mistakes, but when we do, we acknowledge them and correct them.
Yeah. And also, as Samantha said, anyone can be a publisher. So there's lots of people out there sharing stories, putting stories out onto social media, but they may not have the knowledge or the resources to check whether those are real stories. And therefore, some of the stuff out there might be inaccurate. It hasn't been checked by anyone.
Yeah, there's a famous saying which goes, "A lie can get halfway around the world before the truth has got its pants on." Well, I think these days a lie can get all the way around the world before the truth has even woken up. And what makes it even more challenging is when people are being told not to trust mainstream media.
Yeah. Is this what you mean? Let's have a look.
It's totally fake news. Fake news. Fake news! You are fake news. It was fake news. Thank you.
Yes, the American president gets a lot of criticism from mainstream media. He sees that as being an unfair attack on him. He uses the phrase fake news when talking about news that he doesn't like, that he doesn't find convenient. And when one of the most powerful politicians in the world accuses the mainstream media of being fake news, that's a problem. Here's Amal again.
A lot of politicians or people in the public eye have started to use the word fake news or the phrase fake news to basically describe news that they don't like. If you're a politician who wants to close down debate, then you might use the phrase fake news because you don't want people to ask you questions about something uncomfortable. So it's really important that we're clear about what fake news does and doesn't mean.
So it seems that the most famous user of the phrase fake news, perhaps the person who's made it as famous a saying as it is, actually uses it to mean something completely different from the rest of us.
Indeed. Well, to be clear, when we're talking about fake news, we mean false information, information that is not true or not correct, but which is published and shared, particularly on social media. Well, it's about time we wrapped up this program. Sam, remind us of some of today's key vocabulary.
Absolutely, of course. So we learned that the word news comes from the French word nouvelle, and although it has an S at the end, it is not plural, it's an uncountable noun, so it's always singular. We can say, that's news to me, if we find something out that we didn't know before. No news is good news is an expression which means that the lack of news probably means everything's fine, everything's okay, because if something bad had happened, we probably would have been told. Breaking news is new news, so something important. And to break the news is to be the person who gives the information to someone. Propaganda is political information, which could be false or very one-sided information. And then we also had disinformation, which is a term for false news, false stories that are spread deliberately. Mainstream media refers to traditional and established news broadcasters and publishers, just like the BBC, for example.
Thank you, Sam. And thank you for watching. Do join us again next time for Fake News, Fact and Fiction. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin meets Bahrain's king and launches an operation to protect shipping in the Red Sea from Houthi rebels in Yemen. The United States and South Korea begin 2 weeks of special operations exercises following North Korea's latest missile launch. In China, a 6.2 magnitude earthquake in Gansu and Qinghai provinces has killed at least 126 people and injured hundreds. And in the U.S. state of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott signs a law permitting local judges to expel from the country illegal migrants arrested in Texas.
The footballer who forced his government to feed hungry children.
Fight for your black friend! Defend your black colleague!
And the young student who got her community active and fighting for their rights. We'll show you what qualities these young leaders showed in fighting for something they believe in. Marcus Rashford in action for Manchester United. Not the obvious person you'd expect to help fight hunger and poverty. The COVID pandemic, children in the UK were sent home from school, and many poorer children no longer got free school meals. Marcus wanted to help get food to those that need it the most. He wrote a letter to the government calling on them to end child poverty. Unlike many in the British government, Marcus had come from a poor background.
You know what families are going through now. I once had to go through that same system, and it's very difficult to find a way out. But now that I'm in this position that I'm in, it's very important for me to help the people that are struggling, and that was the main reason why the letter was written.
Public support for the footballer grew. He became a leading voice in the campaign to end child food poverty. He got the British government to carry on giving free food to those that needed it, with the support of thousands of people. How did he do it?
The personal connection that Marcus Rashford has to the cause is very important because of his strong belief and conviction that child poverty is not something that should be allowed in society. And because he has experienced it, he knows that this is a cause that is as important and even bigger than football.
So Marcus Rashford's personal connection to the cause is important here, and we can see how that motivates him.
Although there is so much you can get from being a footballer, there is a bigger cause in society, in this case child poverty, that is bigger than football. And he sees that as a vision and feels that he has a position in power to be able to influence that.
So Marcus Rashford sees the bigger picture. He knows there are many children experiencing hunger like he did, and this drives his leadership.
Marcus Rashford feels he's got a role to play in fighting child poverty because he's in a position as a professional footballer, and he has the vision and the honesty and simple way in which he communicates and drives that vision pulls people around him and creates a team spirit within the community, such that even politicians are challenged to try to do more.
Marcus Rashford knows he has a role to play. His passion and commitment draws people to the cause, and his message cannot be ignored, even by the politicians.
He's able to stay the course. Irrespective of what people might say or want him to do, he knows that he has to stay the course to be able to achieve his vision, because that is what he has been doing most of his life.
So resilience and persistence are important character traits here and enable you to stand firm in the face of criticism. But what if you aren't a high-profile footballer? The killing of George Floyd, a black man, at the hands of a white police officer was caught on video and led to massive protests around the world. Bonnie Adelie, a student from the UK, decided to join the growing movement.
Fight for your black friend! Defend your black colleague!
Bonnie organised a protest in her hometown. She set it up in just 2 days. So what were Bonnie's experiences of leadership?
I didn't watch the video, but I felt the effects of that. Sorry. I felt the effects of that immediately, because just hearing about it is enough to shake somebody, I think.
Bonnie Adelie, as a black woman, had been personally affected by the killing and wanted to respond.
I tried to make sure that this protest is not linked to any political party, any local agenda, nothing. This is about black people having a space to grieve, and if you are a self-proclaimed ally and you want to support, then you have a space to come and support.
Bonnie knew others felt the same way as her and wanted to give them an opportunity to come together. She also knew she was putting herself at risk.
As somebody in charge, you take full accountability for everything that happens. And knowing that, you have to be ready for things to go wrong, things to not go your way, for people to hurl abuse at you. I think knowing that before you decide to take something on is really, really important, because self-awareness should let you know whether or not you can hold that.
Bonnie took a risk and accepted personal responsibility for the event, knowing it might not go well. This makes her a believable leader. She also thinks it's important to not forget the issue you are fighting for.
Honor the people that you've come to serve, because I think it's about leading and taking charge, sure, but it's also about serving. You're there to, I organised a protest, but it was to serve. It was to serve my community. I don't know how else to phrase that, but when you lead, you also serve, and that's there's a lot of humility that comes with that. I think I was, like I said, very humbled by the end of that protest, humbled to the absolute extreme.
Bonnie says she was humbled. She didn't see herself as bigger than the cause. People are more likely to follow her because of this. So, to lead for a cause, you need to show your connection to the cause. You might need to take a real risk, and you should remember you are not bigger than the cause itself. Be humble.
Learning to smile again. This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Sian. Make sure you watch to the end to learn vocabulary about this story.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and try the quiz on our website. Now, the story.
People in Japan have been taking lessons on how to smile again. The laws now changed, so you don't have to wear a mask anymore, but many people have complained that they've forgotten how to smile. Smile coaches have been helping people get used to smiling again.
You've been looking at the headlines, Sian. What's the vocabulary?
Okay, we have grin, ditches, and life after.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's look at our first headline.
This is from The Guardian. Grin and bear it. As mask mandates end, Japan turns to tutors to relearn how to smile.
Okay, so this headline is about the end of mask-wearing rules in Japan. The word that we're looking at is grin. Now, Sian, grin, that's a type of smile, isn't it?
It is, but it's not just any smile. It's a really big one like this.
Okay, as you can see, Sian is grinning from ear to ear, which is a common expression.
But we can also use it for the kind of smile when you've done something wrong. So we can say that a child has a cheeky grin, for example.
Yes, and in this headline, they use the expression grin and bear it, which means remain positive when something bad is happening. But there's something a bit different here.
Yes, there's a kind of joke here. So normally the spelling in this expression is bear, B-E-A-R. So that means to deal with something. But here they've spelt it bear, B-A-R-E, which means not covered. So they're making a joke about going barefaced, so not having a mask on your face.
That's right. Let's look at that again. Let's look at our next headline.
This is from the Mainichi. Smile practice seminars popular in Japan as country ditches masks.
So this headline, like the first one, is about the ending of rules in Japan about wearing masks after COVID. The word we're looking at, though, is ditches, which is a verb here, but it's useful to think of the noun, a ditch, which is that thing on the side of the road.
Yeah, so it's where all the water and waste from the road end up. But here we use ditch as a verb, and to ditch something is to throw it away. So if you don't need something anymore, you ditch it. It's not just used for things, though.
No, you can use it for ideas. You can ditch an idea if you think it's a bad one, or you can ditch plans if they're not going to work. I ditched my travel plans during the COVID pandemic.
Or you can even ditch people. So if we talk about ending a relationship, You can say you ditch your boyfriend or girlfriend. Doesn't sound very nice, but we use it.
Okay, let's look at that again. Let's have our next headline.
This is from the Japan Times. Remembering how to smile? Japan training sessions help prepare for life after masks.
Yes, and we're going to look at this useful little phrase we use to talk about how things might be different in the future, life after.
Yeah, so here it's life after masks, and it refers to how life will change for people in Japan when they stop wearing masks.
Yes, and we use this a lot when we're talking about the future. So, for example, students have to prepare for life after university, or a celebrity, a famous person, has to think about life after fame, when they're not famous anymore.
Yeah, and it can also be used with people. So thinking about the future without an important leader or a famous person. For example, are Argentina ready for life after Messi? So he's going to retire one day.
Let's look at that one more time. We've had grin, smile.
Ditches, get rid of.
And life after, a future without.
And if you want to learn more vocabulary around this topic, check out this episode of 6 Minute English.
Don't forget to click here to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another video. Thank you for joining us, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Plastic in the ocean. Could it actually be helping some creatures? This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Sian. Make sure you watch to the end to learn vocabulary about this story.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and try the quiz on our website. Now the story.
The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It doesn't sound like a great place to live. But scientists have discovered coastal creatures making the huge plastic waste island their new home. Researchers say these creatures will now reproduce in larger numbers than before because of the extra space created by the rubbish.
You've been looking at the headlines, Sian. What's the vocabulary?
Okay, we have piggybacks, hitched a ride, and love shack.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's look at our first headline.
This is from The Hindu. In the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, coastal life piggybacks on plastic trash.
So this headline is saying that coastal life, that's creatures that normally live on the coast, are piggybacking on this island of junk, trash, rubbish, garbage, waste into the middle of the ocean. We are looking at the word piggyback, and there are familiar parts there, pig and back, but what's the connection?
Okay, well, there's no actual connection to pigs. So piggyback is a way of carrying someone on your back like this. So their legs are here and their arms go around your neck. So, for example, if my daughter is tired, I give her a piggyback. So it can be a verb or a noun.
Yes, and the headline is talking about these creatures that have used this plastic island as if it was a piggyback to travel. There is another even less literal use and meaning of piggyback. Can you tell us?
Yeah, so we can also use piggyback to describe when someone or something uses the success of something else for their own benefit. So imagine there's a festival in your town. Some businesses will sell stuff connected to the festival so that they piggyback on its success.
Okay, let's look at that again. Let's have our next headline.
This is from The Print. Coastal organisms hitched ride to middle of Pacific Ocean on plastic waste. Now they are thriving and reproducing.
So again, this headline is about these coastal creatures traveling on a junk island in the ocean. We're looking at hitched a ride. Notice in the headline it was just hitched ride, but the expression is hitched a ride. Headlines often leave out the a.
Yeah, so you might know the word hitch from hitchhike. If you hitchhike, you stand on the side of the road with your thumb up and you ask to travel in a stranger's car or van for free. So hitch a ride is similar, but you can also use hitch a ride if you travel with a friend for free.
Yes, and so these creatures, these coastal creatures, are using this junk island as a vehicle. It's not their vehicle, but it's as if they are hitching a ride on it. Now, hitch a ride is a pretty informal expression.
Yeah, so it's much more likely to be used with friends or family. So this morning I didn't catch the train to work, I hitched a ride with a friend. So be careful, we don't use this in academic writing.
Okay, let's look at that again. Let's have a look at our next headline.
This is from IFL Science. Great Pacific Garbage Patch, now a floating love shack for coastal species.
So this headline describes this great big floating junk patch as a love shack. Well, we all know what love is, but what's a shack and what do they mean together?
Okay, so shack is a very informal word for a place like a kind of cabin. So a love shack is a place where people go to be together in a romantic sense.
Yes, and this expression was made popular by a hit song in the late 1980s called Love Shack. We don't use it that often, so why is it in this headline?
Okay, so it's used here to be humorous, to be funny. So coastal species are actually reproducing and creating new life on this patch of rubbish. So it's quite funny to think of a patch of rubbish being used in this way.
Okay, let's look at that again. We've had piggybacks, rides on.
Hitched a ride, travelled in someone else's vehicle.
And Love Shack, a place for love and romance.
So we know plastic waste is a major problem for our oceans. So watch this video to learn about how to curb your plastic addiction.
And click here to make sure that you never miss another one of our videos.
Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye. Could apples, berries and cacao improve our memory as we get older? This is News Review from BBC Learning English. I'm Neil.
And I'm Beth. Make sure you watch to the end to learn vocabulary to talk about this story.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and try the quiz on our website. Now the story.
What you eat could improve your memory as you age. That's according to new research in the US that found people with a diet rich in flavonols may be less likely to lose their memory. The substance is found in tea, berries, apples, and cacao, the seed that chocolate is made from. But while some scientists think eating more dark chocolate could help, others say more research is needed.
You've been looking at the headlines, Beth. What's the vocabulary?
We have keep something at bay, stave off, and drive.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's look at our first headline.
This is from the Mail Online. 6 squares of dark chocolate a day may keep the memory loss at bay.
So this headline is suggesting that eating dark chocolate can help prevent you from losing your memory as you get older. The expression we are looking at is keep something at bay. It's quite a strange sounding expression. What does it mean?
Well, quite simply, it means to stop something bad or dangerous, harmful from happening to you. So in this case, the harmful thing is memory loss. We want to prevent memory loss, so we want to keep it at bay.
Yes, and this expression does have a wider use. It's not only about memory loss.
No, it's not. We can use it for lots of harmful things, but it is often related to health. So, for example, washing your hands can keep infections at bay, or exercising can keep heart disease at bay.
Yes, and take note, we can also use the word hold instead of keep. Hold something at bay, it means exactly the same thing. Let's look at that again. Let's look at our next headline.
This is from The Guardian. Tea, apples and berries could stave off age-related memory loss, study suggests.
Again, this headline is about preventing something bad from happening to us, in this case, memory loss. The expression we're going to look at is stave off. Now, that word stave, that's an old-fashioned sounding word for a long stick, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and it might help you to think about that long stick to understand this expression. So, Neil, imagine something is physically threatening you, maybe a pack of wild dogs, and you have a long stick. What are you going to do with it?
Well, if a pack of wild dogs was attacking me, I would use the long stick to protect myself. Maybe I could wave it and the dogs would go away. That's a strong mental image. It might help you to remember the meaning of this phrasal verb, but actually we don't usually use stave off in a literal sense anymore.
We don't, but it does have the same meaning. It just means to prevent something bad from happening, just like our first expression, keep something at bay. And again, this is something we often use with health. Some people say that drinking orange juice can stave off a cold, but we can also use it to mean prevent other general negative things.
Yes, and one more interesting thing to note, stave off is a phrasal verb, and it's the kind of phrasal verb that you can split in the middle. So you can say orange juice staves off colds, or you can say orange juice staves colds off. Let's look at that again. Let's look at our next headline.
This is from The Independent. Diet low in flavonols may drive age-related memory loss, scientists claim.
So this headline is looking at the same story, but from the opposite angle. It's saying that a diet low in flavonols, now that's that substance that you find in apples, berries, tea and cacao, a diet low in that could cause memory loss. And the word we're looking at is drive, a familiar word used differently here.
Yes, but we're not talking about cars here. So drive actually has a wider meaning than the one we all know connected to cars and driving. It can also mean to force something in a certain direction.
Yes, so when the headline says that a diet low in flavonols drives memory loss, it means that that diet pushes in the direction of memory loss.
And in the same way, when you drive a car, actually what you're doing is just forcing it to go in a certain direction.
Okay, let's look at that again. We've had keep something at bay, prevent something bad affecting you.
Stave off. Also, prevent something bad affecting you.
And drive, force in a certain direction.
Did you know that exercise can also help our brains? To learn more, watch this episode of News Review.
Don't forget to click here so that you can subscribe and never miss another video.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
Що таке enlistment та conscription? Чим to deploy відрізняється від to assign? Як розповісти про військовий досвід англійською? Я Олена Чекрижова, вчителька. Це армійська англійська, канал, де ми вивчаємо Military English. І в цьому відео ми з вами розглянемо корисну лексику, яка дасть вам змогу розповісти про ваш військовий досвід, про вашу біографію і про факти з вашої військової кар'єри. Сьогоднішня тема важлива, по-перше, тому що стандарт НАТО з мовної підготовки вимагає від військового вміння розповідати про свою біографію, спілкуватися з колегами, брати участь у дискусіях, брифінгах, дебрифінгах, проходити інтерв'ю і описувати події минулого. По-друге, не секрет, що іноземні збройні сили дуже зацікавлені в тому, щоб дізнатися більше про досвід наших українських захисників. І вже стоять в черзі, щоб повчитися у вас. І вже дуже скоро ви зможете спілкуватися з ними англійською і розповідати про ваш військовий шлях, якщо будете уважно дивитися мої уроки і виконувати практичні завдання. Основа будь-якої історії, будь то біографія, дебрифінг або байка, яку ви розповідаєте побратимам, це дієслова, дії, опис саме того, що ви робили. У попередньому відео я розповідала вам про час past simple для опису фактів та подій, що завершилися в минулому. І якщо ви уважно його дивилися, то пам'ятаєте, що дієслова діляться на правильні та неправильні. І сьогодні ми зустрінемо і ті. А також ми зустрінемо уже знайоме вам з попередніх уроків дієслово to be – бути, але в минулому часі. In the past воно має дві форми – was та were. Був, була, було, були. Форма залежить від особи та від того, однина чи множина. В однині з I, he, she, it використовуємо was. З you в однині та в множині we та they вживаємо were. Усі правила утворення стверджень, заперечень та питань з was, were такі ж самі, як і для to be в теперішньому часі. Якщо ви пропустили або підзабули відеоурок про дієслово to be і розповідь про себе в теперішньому часі, подивіться його. Окрім того, сьогодні ми зустрінемо речення в пасивному стані. Тобто, коли не ви активно щось робили, а з вами щось робили. Наприклад, народили, доправили, перевели, відзначили. І англійською ми будемо казати «я був народжений», «я був доправлений», «мене було переведено» і так далі. Тут нам потрібна вже третя форма дієслова. Починаємо розповідь про свій досвід із загальних фактів. I was born in. Я був народжений. Та після in ви ставите рік або місто. З роками використовуємо прийменник in. І щоб тут і далі правильно називати дати, зверніться до уроку про numbers, де я пояснюю, як це робити англійською. Щоб розповісти про свою освіту, можете сказати I graduated from і вказати навчальний заклад або університет. Я закінчив, випустився з. I joined the armed forces in. Я вступив до Збройних сил у такому-то році. Наприклад, I joined the armed forces as a military volunteer in 2014. I was mobilized in 2018. To enlist – це приходити на військову службу, вступати на військову службу, добровільно завербовуватися. Або набирати, вербувати, зараховувати на військову службу. To enroll – зараховувати на службу. Ви можете сказати I enlisted, I was enrolled або I was recruited. Мене було зараховано на військову службу. Незайвим також буде слово conscription – військова служба по призову, призов громадян на військову службу або військова повинність. A conscript – це призовник. The oath of enlistment – це присяга, військова клятва. To take the oath of enlistment – це складати присягу. До речі, to take – це неправильне дієслово. Три форми – take, took, taken. Тож ви кажете I took the oath of enlistment a year ago. I served in. Я служив у такому-то місті, у такому-то підрозділі або у такому-то роді військ. My rank was. Моє звання було. I was promoted from to. Мене було підвищено по службі з і до такого-то звання. Також можете сказати I rose through the ranks або I progressed through the ranks. Я просувався у званнях до якогось конкретного рангу. Рости, підвищуватися – to rise, rose, risen. Щоб докладніше розповісти про підрозділи, передивіться урок, присвячений цій темі. А щоб згадати звання, зверніться до уроку про military ranks, а також знайдіть українські відповідники вашого звання званням НАТО. To drill, to train or to exercise in military operations – це відпрацьовувати, тренувати навички військових операцій. To enter training – починати військові навчання і вказуєте, які саме. Наприклад, I entered a marksmanship training – навчання зі стрільби. Або I entered an aerial reconnaissance training – навчання з аеророзвідки. To undertake pre-deployment training – пройти навчання перед розгортанням військ, перед доправленням на бойове завдання. Про навчання ви можете сформулювати речення такого типу. I undertook a training for anti-aircraft gunnery, where I was trained as an anti-aircraft gunner. Я пройшов навчання зенітної артилерії, де мене тренували як стрільця-зенітника. У розповіді про військову кар'єру важливе слово to deploy – розгортати, розгортатися, переміщуватися, розміщуватися. Воно часто вживається в пасивному стані. I was deployed to the east of Ukraine. Також необхідне слово deployment. My first deployment was to the Luhansk region. Our unit changed the area of deployment. A permanent duty station, PDS, постійне місце призначення. A temporary duty, TDY, тимчасове призначення. Наприклад, our PDS was in the north, but I spent 6 months on temporary duty in southern Ukraine. To assign – призначати. To assign a mission – призначати завдання. To assign to a post – призначити на пост. To be assigned – бути призначеним. An assignment – призначення, завдання, задача. Також у військовій сфері у значенні призначення, завдання, задача використовують слово mission. I was given an assignment. Мені призначили завдання. I was assigned a combat mission. I was assigned the post or the position of CVCO, Combat Vehicle Commander. Мене було призначено на посаду командира бойової машини. Posting – це переведення по службі. To be posted – бути призначеним на посаду або переведеним. I was posted to another garrison. Мене було переведено в інший гарнізон. I got a posting to another brigade. Я дістав переведення в іншу бригаду. Якщо вам треба розповісти, наприклад, на інтерв'ю або в приватній розмові, чим саме ви займались на службі, за мить я дам вам ще кілька корисних фраз. А просто зараз перевірте, чи ви вже підписані на канал Армійська англійська. Якщо ви додивились аж сюди, значить матеріал точно корисний. І якщо ви все ще не підписані, ви маєте натиснути кнопку підписки просто зараз. А ще напишіть ваш коментар, як просувається ваше оволодіння англійською з моїми уроками, бо кожен ваш коментар – це внесок у просування нашого проєкту і зворотній зв'язок для мене. А якщо ви бажаєте зробити більш вагомий внесок, ви можете стати нашим меценатом або одноразово підтримати наш проєкт фінансово. Ваша підтримка дає нам змогу робити більше уроків та матеріалів із військової англійської. Про військові нагороди або відзнаки можна розповісти в такий спосіб. I received awards, medals, commendations for something. Наприклад, for special assignments. Я дістав нагороди, медалі, похвали за виконання спеціальних завдань. I was honored with an order for courage. Мене було відзначено орденом за мужність. Якщо ви згадуєте про поранення, про це ви можете сказати, використовуючи, наприклад, такі фрази. I was injured. Мене було травмовано as a result of a mine explosion. Або I was wounded. Мене було поранено by bomb blast fragmentation. Rehabilitation treatment – це реабілітація. To be admitted for rehab treatment – бути прийнятим на реабілітаційне лікування. To retire – виходити на пенсію. Veterans and retirees – ветерани та військові пенсіонери. Також у Збройних силах багатьох країн є таке поняття, як transitioning to civilian life – перехід від військового життя до цивільного. А вже ж, коли ви розповідаєте про вашу військову кар'єру в Україні іноземцю, важливо враховувати багато чинників. Різницю між системами Збройних сил різних країн, різницю між порядком вступу на службу та військовою підготовкою в Україні та інших країнах Заходу, особливості вашої посади, спеціалізації і ваш унікальний військовий шлях. Тому сьогодні я дала вам загальний вокабуляр, а для більш детального опису ваших військових досягнень шукайте лексику, фрази, складайте вашу заготовку, щоб на зустрічі з закордонними колегами ви могли розповісти англійською про свій досвід. А щоб вам було легше скласти власну розповідь про своє минуле, послухаємо приклад розповіді про військову кар'єру.
My name is Tim. I was born in Livonia, Michigan, USA, and I graduated from Brighton High School in 1988. I enlisted in the US Army 1 year after high school. I joined the Army and took the oath of enlistment in June 1989. I did basic training and advanced individual training, AIT, at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Then, I was stationed at Fort Polk, Louisiana. I served as a cavalry scout and specialized in reconnaissance. Every month we trained with weapons, land navigation, and first aid. For the last 7 months of my enlistment, I drove for the squadron's lieutenant colonel. In April 1991, my cavalry squadron deployed to California to train in the high desert. After that deployment, my division, 5th Infantry Division, was to deploy to Saudi Arabia for Operation Desert Storm, but the war finished so quickly, and so we did not deploy there. I served for 2 years. I started as a private, but when I finished my contract, I rose through the lower ranks to private first class. After my 2-year enlistment finished, I served in the reserves for 6 more years. Then, I fully transitioned to civilian life.
На цьому все. Якщо сьогоднішній урок був корисним для вас, залишайте ваші коментарі, підписуйтесь на Інстаграм та Телеграм армійської англійської. Допомагайте нам поширювати інформацію про наш освітній проєкт. Бо щоденно я, Олена Чекрижова, вчителька, та наша команда працюють над створенням відеоуроків з метою якомога швидше озброїти українське військо англійською мовою і якомога швидше перемогти клятого ворога.
In Hong Kong, the trial of media businessman Jimmy Lai begins. Lai faces national security charges, carrying a possible sentence of life in prison. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida condemns North Korea's missile test, which South Korea's military says flew 1,000 kilometers before landing in the sea. Iraqis vote in the first provincial elections in 10 years. Parliamentary elections are planned for 2025. And Kenya and the European Union sign an economic partnership agreement. The deal reduces import taxes and other costs between Europe and the East African nation.
In the present continuous tense, verbs end in ing In careful speech, Americans pronounce the G at the end of the verb. However, in fast speech, many Americans do not pronounce the G at the end of the verb. The result sounds like this:
Writin',
doin'.
readin'.
Here is an example.
Careful speech.
I am reading a book.
Fast speech.
I'm reading a book.
Now you try it. Make I am shorter too.
I am recording my show.
I'm recording my show.
Another way Americans shorten words is to put them together. What and are often sound like water. Now you try it.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Could brain chips let us control our phones with our minds? That's what Elon Musk hopes. This is News Review from BBC Learning English, where we help you understand news headlines in English. I'm Beth.
And I'm Phil. Make sure you watch to the end to learn the vocabulary that you need to talk about this story.
And remember to subscribe to our channel to learn more English from the headlines. Now, today's story.
A wireless chip has been successfully placed in a human brain by Elon Musk's Neuralink company. The device is able to read brain signals linked to movement and send them to a computer. Musk said that future innovations may allow us to control our phone or computer just by thinking.
You've been looking at the headlines, Phil. What's the vocabulary that people need to understand this news story?
We have implant, interface, and cyborg.
This is News Review from BBC Learning English. Let's have a look at our first headline.
This is from the BBC. Elon Musk announces first Neuralink wireless brain implant.
Now, this headline is about the announcement from Elon Musk that his company have successfully put an implant into someone's brain. Implant is the word we're looking at. Phil, what can you tell us about it?
Okay, so the word implant, it's a verb and a noun, and in this headline it's a noun referring to the device that was physically put inside someone's brain. That machine is the implant.
Now, implants aren't particularly new, although this one is, but there are lots of different kinds of implants, aren't there?
Yes, you could have implants that keep your heart beating. Implants can help people hear again, and you can use implants to replace joints, things like knees or hips.
Okay, that's the noun. What about the verb? Does it just mean to put an implant into someone's body, or can it mean anything else?
Well, literally that's what it means here. You can see the prefix im, which means to put in or to go in. But as well as being able to physically implant something into someone's brain, we can also implant things into their minds.
Okay, so you could put an idea or a feeling into someone's mind. You could implant it.
Yes, and if an idea or thought becomes implanted in your mind, then you accept it or you believe it very strongly.
Okay, so we should try and implant this word into your vocabulary. Let's look at that again. Let's have our next headline.
This is from The Register. Elon Musk's brain-computer interface outfit Neuralink tests its tech on a human.
Now, this is about Elon Musk's company Neuralink and their new technology. We're looking at the word interface, which can be a noun and a verb. It's a noun in the headline. Now, interface, I know that it means two systems coming together, but what does it mean in this headline?
Okay, well, the implant in this story is a brain-computer interface, and it's the device that lets someone's brain communicate with and work with a computer. On your computer, it's just what you can see and what you can click on.
Okay, but it's not just computer systems. It can be much more than that. So here in the story, the interface is between technology and biology and how they link together.
Yeah, it's not just gadgets, ideas and concepts can have an interface between them.
Okay, let's look at that again. Next headline, please.
This is from Mail Online. Rage against the machine. Americans warn Elon Musk to stop creating cyborgs after he revealed the first human has had Neuralink's brain chip.
This headline is about people being worried by these brain implants. We're looking at the word cyborg. This sounds like something from science fiction.
That is where it comes from, but like the word robot, it's also used to describe things that actually exist. Now, originally a cyborg was something that is part human and part machine.
Okay, I know about robots. They actually exist. I have a robot Hoover. But cyborgs, do they actually exist? They sound quite futuristic.
Okay, well, in news articles and headlines, the word cyborg is more likely to be used as a comparison to describe things that are similar to cyborgs from science fiction. So you might read about so-called cyborg insects or bacteria.
Okay, let's look at that again. We've had implants, something placed inside the body.
Interface, a connection between two systems.
And cyborg, part human, part machine.
Now, if you want to know more about brain implants, click here to watch this episode of Lingo Hack.
And don't forget to click here to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another video. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.
The United States frees an ally of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in exchange for 10 imprisoned Americans and a Malaysian businessman wanted in a U.S. Navy corruption case. Argentina's President Javier Milei signs a series of economic measures to cut spending, end export limits, and ease government rules. In India, opposition lawmakers who were among 141 suspended from Parliament by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government protest in New Delhi. And the government of Angola announces it is leaving OPEC because membership in the oil group does not serve its interests.
Base. Base.
A base is any of the 4 places a runner must touch in order to score in baseball.
Baseball. Baseball.
Baseball is a game played on a large field by 2 teams of 9 players who try to score runs by hitting a small ball with a long rounded stick and then running to each of the 4 places a runner must touch in order to score without being put out.
Better. Better.
Better means more attractive, appealing, effective, or useful.
Bike. Bike.
A bicycle or bike is a two-wheeled vehicle that a person rides by pushing on foot pedals.
Cheers. Cheers.
To cheer means to shout with joy, approval, or enthusiasm.
Crowd.